brochure landed beside the gravy boat before I had finished carving the chicken. It showed two silver-haired people riding bicycles past a stone fountain. Neither of them looked old enough to have silver hair, and neither appeared to own a shirt with sleeves. "What's this?" I asked. Brent folded his hands on the table. That was when I knew the dinner had an agenda. Aaron reached for another biscuit without looking at me. "Just something we want you to consider." Elaine sat very still at the other end of the table. Across the brochure, in raised blue letters, were the words, "Willow Creek, your next chapter." I looked at my sons. What happened to this chapter? Brent exhaled through his nose. "Dad, nobody's attacking you. Nobody said you were. We're worried about the house. The house didn't fall off the ladder. You did. I missed one rung. You're 68. You say that like I missed it on purpose." Aaron almost smiled. Brent didn't. Then Brent leaned forward, lowering his voice as though we had a sleeping person in the room. "You're stuck in the past, Dad. Both of you need less work, fewer stairs, and a place that makes sense. It's time to sell the house." The oddest part wasn't hearing my sons ask me to sell the home where they had grown up. It was seeing that my wife already knew they were going to ask. For several seconds, the only sound was the ceiling fan ticking above us. It had made that noise since 2009. I knew the year because Brent had offered to replace it after Thanksgiving, then moved to Cincinnati, changed jobs twice, and forgot. I laid the carving knife down. "Eat before it gets cold," I said. Brent glanced at Aaron. Aaron concentrated on buttering the biscuit he had already buttered. "Walter," Elaine said gently. "The chicken took 2 hours. It took 20 minutes, Aaron said. "Preparation is part of cooking." I was trying to lighten the mood. "You've been trying that since you were 9. That got a quick laugh from him. It escaped before he could stop it. For 1 second, he was the boy who used to hide peas under the rim of his plate and ask to be excused. Then Brent slid the brochure closer to me, and Aaron became 38 again. There were 4 glossy pages, photographs of a pool, a fitness room, a dining room with white tablecloths, and a woodworking shop containing tools so clean they had never met wood. The price was printed on a separate sheet tucked inside. I lifted that sheet. "Does the fountain come with the apartment?" "Condo," Brent said. "Do I get one of the bicycles?" "You don't have to joke about everything. I don't. Funerals, root canals, your mother's meatloaf. 3 things right there." Elaine gave me a tired look. Her meatloaf was good. It was an old joke between us, and I used it because the new conversation felt like walking into a dark room and reaching for a switch that had been moved. Brent tapped the picture of the building. "It's 12 minutes from us. They handle the landscaping, maintenance, snow removal. I handle the landscaping. That's the point." Aaron put his biscuit down. "Dad, it's not just the ladder. The water heater went last winter. That pipe leaked behind the downstairs toilet. The retaining wall needs attention. The water heater was 14 years old. It didn't die from neglect. You spent Christmas Eve changing it. You took a 40-minute shower on Christmas morning, so apparently I did all right." He looked down. Brent's wife, Dana, sat beside him with both hands around her iced tea. She had been pleasant all afternoon, in the careful way people are pleasant when they know an ambush is coming. Aaron had come alone. His divorce had been final for 4 months, though he still wore a pale band on his finger where his ring had been. Dana cleared her throat. "Willow Creek really is beautiful. My aunt loves it there." "Your aunt is 81, I said. "She's very active. Then she can have my bicycle." "Walter," Elaine said again. This time, something in her voice made me stop. She had barely eaten. Elaine always ate the crisp skin first, before it softened against the potatoes. That afternoon, it was untouched on her plate. She had changed her earrings twice before everyone arrived, finally choosing the small green stones I bought her in Nashville 15 years earlier. I wondered if she had chosen them because she wanted courage or because she wanted to remind me of a good trip. I looked at her. "How long have you known about this?" "It isn't a conspiracy." "That wasn't my question." Brent shifted in his chair. "We started talking after your fall." "Who started? Does it matter?" "It matters to me." Elaine folded her napkin into a smaller square. "Brent mentioned Willow Creek last week. And what did you say?" "I said we would talk about it." "We?" "You and I. You and I are 4 pages behind." Dana found great interest in the condensation on her glass. Aaron said, "Can we not turn this into who said what? That would certainly be convenient." "Dad." "What?" He rubbed a hand over his mouth. This is what we mean. Anything new comes up, and you make everybody defend why it's new. I looked around my dining room. The wallpaper was cream with narrow green vines. Elaine had picked it in 1998, then hated it by 2003. The oak table had a burn mark under Brent's plate from the night he set down a hot pan after insisting he knew what he was doing. Behind Aaron was the built-in cabinet I'd made during a week of vacation, because we couldn't afford the one Elaine wanted. The doors had never hung exactly even. Maybe none of those things belonged in the argument. That didn't stop them from being in the room. Brent leaned back. The market is strong. You'd get a good price, especially for this neighborhood. You could buy at Willow Creek without a mortgage and still have money left. There it is, I said. His expression tightened. There what is? The money left. I'm talking about financial security. You're talking about arithmetic on a house you don't own. Walter, Elaine said. Dana touched Brent's arm, but he pulled it away, not angrily, just enough to show he didn't want calming. I'm not trying to take your money, he said. I didn't say you were. You didn't have to. Aaron stared at the table. He had never liked conflict unless he could arrive after it and help explain what everybody had meant. Brent continued. All I'm saying is, there are smarter uses for that much equity than keeping it tied up in a place that's too big for two people. Smarter uses for whom? For you. For Mom. For the family. That last part hung there. I looked at Elaine again. She closed her eyes for a moment, and I could tell she had heard it too. What family use did you have in mind? I asked. Brent's face reddened. Nothing specific. Dana looked at him. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Aaron picked up his water and drank too quickly. We were just talking generally. You always say you want to help while you're around to see it. That sounds specific enough to have numbers attached. Dad, come on. No. You come on. You brought me a sales brochure on Father's Day. It's not Father's Day, Aaron said. It's the dinner for Father's Day. Father's Day is next Sunday. Next Sunday, Brent has golf. Brent looked offended. It's a client event. Of course it is. Elaine pushed back from the table. Her chair legs dragged hard across the floor. Everybody stopped. She didn't raise her voice often. She didn't need to. Even when the boys were young, she could say their names from 3 rooms away and make both of them check their hands for evidence. She stood with her napkin still clutched in one fist. Brent, you should not have brought up money. Aaron, you should not have let him do all the talking when you were part of this. Walter, you are acting as though a suggestion is an eviction notice. A brochure is not a suggestion. It's a visual aid. This is exactly what I mean. I stared at her. What you mean? She released a slow breath. I would like to talk about moving. The fan ticked overhead. Not Willow Creek, she explained. She wasn't agreeing to that. She didn't want decisions made by committee, and she certainly hadn't invited our sons to calculate what might remain after a sale. But she was tired of stairs, tired of the yard, tired of cleaning rooms no one used except when one of the boys needed to store something. Brent looked relieved too soon. Elaine caught it. This does not mean you were right to do this here. His shoulders dropped again. She turned back to me. And it doesn't mean I don't love this house. I nodded once. What I wanted to say was that loving something and leaving it were opposite actions. What came out was, the potatoes are getting a skin on them. Nobody ate much after that. Dana helped Elaine carry plates to the kitchen. Brent tried to stop her, perhaps sensing that the rules had changed, but she told him to sit down in a tone that sounded almost cheerful. Aaron stacked dishes until I reminded him that greasy plates did not belong on top of the linen napkins. You always said they were washable, he muttered. Washable doesn't mean eager. He gave me a crooked smile. It disappeared when I picked up the Willow Creek brochure. Was this your idea? I asked. He looked toward the kitchen. Does it matter now? It mattered when you were 9. I'm not 9. No. When you were 9, you answered questions. He rubbed the pale mark on his ring finger. Brent found the place. I said maybe it was worth looking at. And the house? He hesitated. Aaron, I think selling could be good for you. Good for me, or comforting for you. His eyes lifted to mine. For the first time that evening, the joking fell away completely. Can it be both? Before I could ask what that meant, Brent came over with his car keys in his hand. We should go. They left with containers of chicken and potatoes because Elaine had packed them automatically. Dana hugged both of us. Brent hugged his mother and gave me the brief, hard pat men use when neither one wants to admit a hug is happening. Aaron stood on the porch longer than necessary. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine. You're not." I missed one rung. "I'm not dying." I wasn't talking about the latter. I looked at him. He shoved his hands into his pockets. Then he nodded toward the garage. "My camping bins are still back there, right?" It was so perfectly Aaron that I laughed. He smiled, relieved. "What?" "Nothing." "Drive safe." After the taillights disappeared, I found Elaine at the kitchen sink scraping plates. The dishwasher stood open beside her. For 37 years, I had told her she loaded it wrong. For 37 years, she had continued loading it the same way, which might have been the healthiest thing about our marriage. I picked up a dish towel. "How long have you wanted to leave?" I asked. She kept her back to me. "I didn't say I wanted to leave. You said move. Those are different words. Not to a house." She turned off the water. "Do you really think this house cares whether we stay?" "That's not what I meant." "I know." She handed me a wet platter. I dried the rim, then the underside, working around a tiny chip near the handle. "I thought you liked it here," I said. "I do." "You picked the wallpaper?" "I was 39. You said it was timeless." "I was wrong, Walter. Time found it." I glanced toward the dining room. From the kitchen, the vines looked like cracks climbing the walls. Elaine leaned against the counter. "Do you know what I did yesterday?" "Bought chicken." "Before that." "Went to the pharmacy." "I cleaned Aaron's old room." "He doesn't live here. That is my point. He doesn't live here, but half his marriage does." I set the platter down. She began counting on her fingers. His camping equipment. 2 lamps Melanie hated. A box marked bathroom that I sincerely hope does not contain anything from a bathroom. Brent has 6 storage tubs in the basement and a broken desk in the garage. I was going to repair that. He bought another desk 3 years ago. It's a good desk. It's a broken desk. That doesn't make it bad. She looked at me for a long moment. "You hear yourself, don't you?" "I did. I wished I didn't." She softened. "I'm not asking to put a sign in the yard tomorrow. I'm asking if we can talk without you making me feel like I'm burning the family Bible." "We don't have a family Bible." "Then that's one less box." I laughed in spite of myself. She did too, but her eyes filled, and that scared me more than Brent's brochure. I reached for her hand. She let me take it. "I maintain this place for us," I said. "I know, for the family. I know that too." "Then why does everybody talk like I'm the problem?" She looked past me toward the dining room, where 5 used glasses sat beside 6 clean place settings we had never put away. "Maybe," she said, "because you've made yourself responsible for so much that nobody knows how to love you unless you're doing something for them." I let go of her hand. Outside, the porch light illuminated the empty driveway. I had installed that fixture after Aaron's divorce because the old one flickered and he had been coming by late without calling. Beyond it stood the detached garage, full of my tools, Brent's desk, Aaron's bins, and enough family history to keep a man busy for the rest of his life. I picked up the Willow Creek brochure from the counter. Then I took out my phone and sent both sons the same message. "If we're going to discuss selling, come get everything that belongs to you." 30 days, Aaron replied first. "Everything?" I looked at Elaine. She nodded. "Everything," I wrote. My phone rang before I had finished brushing my teeth. Brent never called before 7, unless he wanted something handled before his workday officially began. I watched his name flash twice, rinsed my mouth, and answered on the 3rd. 30 days? He said. "Good morning. You can't give us 30 days to clear out 30 years. You've had 30 years. I'm giving you the bonus round." He made the low sound in his throat that had replaced yelling after he started managing people. "I have meetings all week. I don't need you all week. Dana and I are going to Louisville next weekend, then come the weekend after." "And put everything where?" "I'm not qualified to answer that. I've been stuck in the past since Sunday." He was quiet long enough for me to picture him standing at his kitchen island in his pressed white shirt, one hand around his coffee, the other pinching the bridge of his nose. "Are you actually considering selling?" he asked. "Your mother is considering it." I asked if you were. "I'm considering my mother's consideration." "Dad, some of us don't decide where to live over poultry. You're doing this because you're mad. That doesn't make the boxes less yours." He changed direction. Brent had always been good at that. If one road was blocked, he appeared on another and acted as though it had been the route all along. "You know I'm trying to help, right? I know you brought real estate brochures to dinner. That's not an answer. It wasn't a question that needed one." He sighed. "I'll talk to Dana. You do that. And don't throw anything away." I looked through the bathroom doorway toward the hall. At the far end, Aaron's old bedroom door stood open. From where I was, I could see the corner of a cardboard box and one brass lamp with a tasseled shade. "Anything?" I asked. "Anything of mine?" "Those are the things we're discussing." "I mean it, Dad. Don't start making decisions just to prove you can." I hung up before I said something that would take longer to repair than the desk in my garage. Elaine was downstairs in her robe, reading the newspaper at the kitchen table. She had put my coffee in the blue mug with the chipped handle. It was the mug I used every morning, though we owned 17 others. "How did Brent take it?" she asked. "He's concerned about my emotional stability. He should be concerned about his baseball cards." "He has baseball cards? Top shelf at the closet in his old room. I thought those were Aaron's." "No. Aaron sold his to buy a guitar." "What happened to the guitar?" She folded the newspaper. "Basement." I sat across from her. "We raised idiots. We raised optimists. They believe storage expands when they aren't looking." She took a sip of coffee and watched me over the rim. "What? You enjoyed that phone call?" "I did not. You used the voice." "What voice?" "The calm one that makes everybody else feel insane." "I only have one voice. That is absolutely untrue." I reached for the business section. She kept her hand on it. 30 days is fair," I said. "It is." You nodded before I sent it, I remember. "So, why are you looking at me like that?" "Because I agreed they should clear their things out." "I didn't agree to watch you turn it into a military exercise. I don't run military exercises. You made me label our Christmas shelves by color, year, and likelihood of use. That system has saved us hours. It has cost me part of my soul." She released the paper and stood. I followed her upstairs after breakfast. We began with Aaron's room because it was worse. He had moved back into it twice as an adult. Once after losing a job, and once after Melanie asked him to leave. The second stay had lasted 11 weeks. On the 12th, he announced that he and Melanie were working on things, loaded one suitcase into his car, and left everything else behind. The closet contained 4 suits, none of which would have fit him anymore, a bowling ball with someone else's initials, and a plastic container full of electrical cords. "Don't touch those," I said when Elaine lifted the lid. "Why? There could be something useful. Name one thing in this house that uses this cord." I picked up a black cable with 2 unfamiliar ends. "That's not the point." She held out a trash bag. I put the cord back. She smiled without kindness. Stuck in the past. Waiting for technology to circle around. Beneath the bed, we found 3 framed photographs from Aaron's wedding. He and Melanie stood in front of a brick wall, laughing at something outside the frame. Elaine sat on the floor with one picture in her lap. "Should we wrap these?" she asked. "I don't know. He may not want them. He may not want us to throw them away. Those are different problems." She said it quietly, but it landed harder than anything Brent had said. We placed the photographs face down in a shallow box and wrote, "Aaron, decide," across the top. By noon, the upstairs hall was lined with containers. Keep, donate, trash, decide. Elaine had insisted on the 4th category after catching me trying to move everything into keep. When we stopped for sandwiches, my lower back hurt. I didn't mention it. Elaine didn't mention rubbing her knee on the way downstairs. The phone rang while I was slicing a tomato. "Aaron, are you throwing away my stuff?" he asked. "Good morning to you too. It's almost noon. That doesn't mean it wasn't a good morning. Brent said you're already going through the rooms. Your mother and I live in the rooms. We're allowed. I can come by tonight. We have plans." The line went silent. "What plans?" I looked at Elaine. She raised one eyebrow. "We're going out." "Where?" "Somewhere with doors that lock." "Dad, I'm not trying to sneak in. You still have a key?" Another silence. "Aaron, it's the house I grew up in. That is not an answer. I don't know where it is, meaning you have one. I probably have one. Somewhere. Bring it Saturday." "Why?" "Because you don't live here." He let out a short laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Okay. Wow. What? Nothing." "You're really going for it. Going for what? This whole new boundaries thing." I set the knife down. I asked for a key, not a kidney. "You never cared before. That doesn't mean I can't care now." "Did Mom put you up to this?" Elaine reached for the phone. I moved it away, which earned me a look. "No," I said. "You and your brother put me up to it when you asked me to empty the house. We asked you to think about selling. It's difficult to sell a house containing 6 lamps nobody claims. One of those is Melanie's. I'll notify her attorney. That's not funny. It was a little funny. He arrived Saturday with coffee, a package of powdered donuts, and no key. I looked, he said. Where? My apartment. Try your key ring. He patted his pockets, then grinned as if we were sharing a joke. I held out my hand. You're serious? Behind him, Brent's SUV turned into the driveway. Dana was driving. She parked, got out, and opened the rear hatch to reveal a neat stack of flattened boxes. Brent climbed out carrying a roll of packing tape and a label maker. Of course he has a label maker, Aaron said. He brought supplies, Elaine said. What did you bring? Aaron lifted the donuts. Diabetes, I said. Dana kissed Elaine's cheek and handed me coffee. Peace offering. Which side are you on? The side with an exit. Brent came up the walk. I can stay until 2. It was 9:45. We'll try to release you before the hostage negotiators arrive, I said. We started in Brent's room. He had not slept there in 20 years, but he stood in the doorway with the expression of a man finding strangers in his office. The room was smaller than he remembered. They always are. A full-size bed took up most of the space, and the desk beneath the window had an old computer monitor sitting on it because I had been meaning to take it to electronics recycling. Brent pointed. That's not mine. It was in your room. That doesn't make it mine. Interesting theory, I said. He ignored me and opened the closet. For the next hour, he made decisions without touching anything. The debate trophies could go, except the state finalist plaque. The binders could go, except he wanted to check them first. The baseball cards needed to be appraised. He wanted the small bookshelf, but not until after the Louisville trip. The clothes were not his responsibility because Elaine should have donated them years ago. Dana sat on the bed, eating powdered donuts with Aaron. You two are a tremendous help, Brent said. I offered you a donut, Aaron replied. You got powder on the comforter. It's an old comforter. Elaine looked at him. Whose old comforter? Aaron slowly stopped chewing. By 11, we had moved exactly one box to Brent's SUV. He taped it shut and printed a label that said, Office, Archive. The box contained a high school yearbook, 3 plaques, a calculator that no longer turned on, and a ceramic mug shaped like a football. Archive, I said. It's just a label. No, it's a promotion. Dana laughed hard enough to cough. Brent shot her a look, then surprised me by laughing too. It came out grudgingly, but it changed the air in the room. For a while, we managed to behave like a family instead of opposing legal teams. Aaron tried on one of Brent's old sport coats and couldn't button it. Dana found a photograph of Brent with a mustache at 19 and carried it downstairs so Elaine could see. Brent uncovered a note from an old girlfriend and read the first sentence aloud before recognizing the danger and tearing it in half. You can't throw that away, Aaron said. It's history. It's none of your business. History belongs to everyone. That is not how history works. I was laughing when Elaine appeared in the doorway holding an empty plastic tub. Walter, where are your train magazines? In the basement. Where in the basement? On the metal shelves. There are 4 metal shelves, the ones by the workbench. Those are full of paint. The other workbench. Everybody looked at me. I crossed my arms. What? Elaine set the tub down. I think your things should be part of this too. My things aren't preventing anybody from selling the house. She blinked. You have a coffee can full of bent nails. They're not all bent. You have 3 broken radios. 2. The Zenith works when it's warm. Aaron was smiling openly now. This is getting good, I pointed at him. You have a bowling ball belonging to a man named Earl. I might be able to use that. For what? Finding Earl? Brent leaned against the closet frame. The tension had left his shoulders, replaced by a satisfaction I didn't care for. Mom's right, he said. If we're actually clearing the house, it can't just be our stuff. This began with your stuff. No, Elaine said. This began with a conversation about whether the house still fits our life. The room went quiet again. She didn't say it cruelly. That made it worse. I looked around at the open boxes, the empty hangers, the pale rectangles on the wall where Brent's plaques had protected the paint from sunlight. They had come to collect the past I had accused them of abandoning, and somehow I was the only person surprised that some of it belonged to me. Fine, I said. We'll do the basement next. Elaine picked up the empty tub. Good. But nobody touches my tools. Aaron saluted with a powdered donut. Brent checked his watch. And downstairs, beneath the kitchen where we had eaten nearly every important meal of our adult lives, something heavy struck the basement floor. All 5 of us froze. Then Dana called up, "I'm okay." Brent moved first. "What happened?" "I found the guitar." Aaron was down the stairs before the rest of us reached the hallway. The guitar lay on the concrete beside an open black case, its neck resting against Dana's shoe. Aaron took the last 3 stairs in one jump. "Don't pick it up." "I wasn't going to," Dana said. "You're standing on the strap." She looked down and moved her foot. I was trying to reach a box behind it. The case tipped over. Aaron crouched and ran both hands over the guitar as if checking an injured animal. It was a Sunburst electric with a white pickguard, though age had turned the white the color of old teeth. One knob was missing. The 6th string hung loose. "You said you sold your baseball cards for that?" I asked. He looked up. "You remember?" "I remember you telling your mother the cards were stolen. They were stolen. By a music store. You cried for 2 days. I was 14. You also cried when I wouldn't let you plug that thing in after midnight. That was oppression, not sadness." Brent came down behind me. "You never learned to play. I learned 4 songs. You learned the beginning of 4 songs. Most people leave before the end anyway." Aaron lifted the guitar and sat on the bottom stair with it across his knees. His thumb moved over the strings, producing a soft metallic scrape. For once, nobody rushed him. I remembered the afternoon he bought it. He had come home without the cards and tried to carry the guitar through the back door beneath his winter coat. The neck stuck out above his shoulder. Elaine let him finish the lie before asking whether thieves commonly traded musical instruments for baseball cards. That night, I found him in the basement with an instruction book open on the floor, trying to make his fingers form a chord. I'd shown him 3. I had forgotten that part until he placed his hand in the same awkward shape. "Still fits," he said. "Nothing fits. It's a guitar. You know what I mean?" Dana sat on a paint can. "Are you keeping it?" Aaron glanced toward the crowded shelves. "I don't really have room," Brent snorted. "You've got a 2-bedroom apartment. 1 bedroom is an office. You don't work from home. I think at home. First time for everything." Aaron gave him a look. "I could hang it on a wall." "You need to find the wall first." "Enough," Elaine said from the stairs. Aaron rested his chin against the guitar body. "Can I leave it here until I get a mount?" "No," I said. His head came up. The answer surprised me too. I had expected to hear myself say, "Of course." I had a moving blanket, wall hooks, and an empty stretch behind the furnace where it could have remained safe until the end of civilization. "You said you wanted it," I continued. "Take it. What if it gets damaged? You own it. You're allowed to damage it. That's a terrible philosophy. It's gotten us this far." He looked at Elaine, but she had already turned toward the shelves. The basement was divided into regions the way old maps divided unexplored land. My workbench and tools occupied the north wall. Holiday decorations filled 2 metal shelving units near the utility sink. Paint cans stood beneath the stairs. At the far end, behind a folding ping-pong table, were boxes from both sons, 2 wooden chairs waiting for new seats, and the Zenith radio, which worked in August. Brent checked his watch again. "You planning a medical procedure at 2?" I asked. "I told you I have another commitment. You said you could stay until 2. You've spent half your time reading labels, because half these labels are wrong. This says Brent, college, but it has Aaron's yearbooks." Aaron looked offended. "Keep me out of your archive." Elaine handed each son a roll of trash bags. Dana began flattening empty cardboard in the corner, the only one among us who understood that work went faster when somebody worked. I opened a plastic tub marked Walter Trains. Brent leaned over. "How many of those do you have?" "Magazines, tubs." 3. Elaine made a noise behind me, possibly 4. I collected model trains for 16 years without ever building a model railroad. The plan had been to make one after retirement. Then I retired and discovered retirement was mostly regular life, with people asking why you were busy. The magazines were arranged by date. I had read every one. Several included track plans I admired, though I could not have said which several without checking. Aaron held open a trash bag. "Don't be ridiculous. You haven't opened this tub since I moved back. I opened it before that. Comforting." I lifted a stack and found a dead silverfish on the bottom. Brent pointed. "Even the bugs are done reading them. I'll donate them." "To whom?" Elaine asked. "The train club." "What train club? There must be one." "You're assigning homework to strangers who don't exist." I took out one issue with a winter layout on the cover. A tiny red station stood beside snow-dusted pines. Light glowed from the miniature windows. The whole world fit on a sheet of plywood and appeared to be running on time. "Keep 6, Elaine said. 6? Pick your favorites. They're a set. They're mold with page numbers." I looked at my sons. Both suddenly found their own boxes fascinating. "Cowards," I said. Aaron laughed. "You told me to take the guitar. A guitar isn't periodical literature. No, people enjoy guitars. I kept 12 magazines and put the rest into a donation box." Elaine said nothing about my interpretation of 6. Marriage depends on knowing when enforcement costs more than victory. The work went faster after that. We found Brent's letter jacket, which Dana insisted he try on. He got one arm into it and nearly tore the lining. "It shrank," he said. "In a climate-controlled closet?" Aaron asked. "Fabric changes. So do regional managers." Brent wrestled it off and threw it at him. Aaron caught it with the guitar still across his lap, and the first real scuffle of the day nearly ended with both of them on the floor. They stopped themselves before Elaine had to. That was one advantage of adult sons. Age supplied the supervision. At 1 o'clock, everyone began looking toward the kitchen. "What are we doing for lunch?" Aaron asked. Elaine tied off a trash bag. "I don't know." "What are you doing?" He blinked. "I thought maybe sandwiches. That sounds nice." Another pause. "Do we have bread?" he asked. "We do," she said. "Turkey?" "Probably." He waited. Elaine waited longer. Dana covered a smile with her hand. Finally, Aaron said, "Would you like me to make sandwiches? I would love that." He went upstairs, moving slowly enough to suggest he expected her to change her mind and follow him. She didn't. Brent took a box from the top shelf and set it beside me. "This desk really is good wood, you know. The broken one? It needs one joint repaired. I told you that. Could you fix it before I pick it up?" I stared at him. He must have heard the question after he spoke, because his face changed. "I mean, since it's already here, take it broken, then I'd have to find somebody. Now you're understanding the system." He put both hands on his hips. "Dad, you could repair it in 20 minutes. It's been here 3 years. Apparently it wasn't urgent. I didn't know you were going to impose a deadline. I didn't know you were going to sell my house over chicken. Life surprises us." His eyes hardened. "Nobody can make you sell. That's the first sensible thing you've said. I'm serious. You're acting like we forced your hand so you can blame us for whatever comes next." The words were close enough to something true that I disliked him for saying them. I lowered my voice. "You didn't come here because you're worried about stairs. I am worried about the stairs." "And the money left over?" He glanced toward Dana. She had stopped flattening boxes. "There are opportunities," he said carefully. "That's all I meant." "What kind of opportunities? This is not the time. You found time at dinner. I said the family could benefit. From what?" He looked toward the ceiling, as if Elaine might be listening through the floor. "My company is opening the option for regional leadership to buy a stake. It's a good investment." I waited. "I'm not asking you for anything," he added. "You're telling me there's something you might ask for. There's a difference. Not when you've already spent the money in your head." Dana stepped between us without physically stepping between us. "Brent, we agreed you weren't going to bring that up." I didn't. He did. "You brought up money on Sunday. I was explaining options." She turned away. It was a small movement, but Brent saw it. Aaron called from the top of the stairs. "Does anybody care if the turkey smells sweet?" "Yes," 4 of us answered. Lunch was peanut butter and powdered donuts because the turkey had gone bad. We ate at the kitchen table. Aaron made a ceremony of cutting each sandwich diagonally. Brent had jelly on his shirt and didn't notice until Dana pointed it out. For a few minutes, nobody discussed houses, equity, stairs, or the price of becoming a regional owner of anything. At 2, Brent carried 3 boxes to the SUV. Dana took the letter jacket, though he insisted he didn't want it. The desk remained in the garage. "You have until the deadline," I reminded him. "I heard you the first 12 times." Aaron loaded the guitar into his back seat, then returned for the box marked Decide. He lifted the lid, saw the wedding photographs, and closed it again. "Mom found those," I said. He nodded. "Take the box." "Can I just leave this one?" "No, I don't know what to do with them." "That's why the box has your name on it." His jaw moved. He wasn't chewing anything. "What would you do?" he asked. It was the first question either son had asked me all day that wasn't really a request. "I'd keep one," I said. "The one where you still recognize yourself." He looked down at the box for a long time. Then he carried it to the car. The key was still on his ring. I saw it when he reached for the ignition. He saw me see it. Neither of us spoke. Aaron removed it slowly and placed it in my palm. The brass was warm from his hand. "Does this mean I have to knock?" he asked. "It means we'll know you're coming." He nodded, but his eyes moved past me to the porch, the windows, the roofline, as if the house had already taken a step away from him. After they left, Elaine and I stood in the basement among the gaps their boxes had exposed. Dust outlined every missing container. She picked up my donation box of train magazines. "Where are we taking these? I'll find a club." "Of course you will." I watched her climb the stairs. "Elaine," she turned. "Did you know about Brent's investment?" Her grip tightened around the box. "I knew there was an opportunity," she said. And he asked whether we had ever thought about helping both boys sooner, instead of leaving things later. The basement seemed to change temperature. "What did you tell him?" "I told him we weren't dead." Then she carried the box upstairs, leaving me beside the workbench with Aaron's warm key still closed in my fist. I followed her into the kitchen. What else did they know that I don't? Elaine set the train magazines on the counter. "Don't ask questions like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm keeping a second family in the attic. Brent asked us for part of his inheritance while I was still cleaning the grill. He did not ask. He circled the subject until I told him to stop. That's how Brent asks. I handled it, without telling me." She turned. "When would you have liked me to tell you? Before the dinner, so you could call him and start this fight early? During dinner, while Aaron was studying the exits? Or afterward, when you were busy turning the house into a loyalty test? It's our money. Yes, our house. Yes, our decision. I know that, Walter. Then why am I the last person to hear anything?" Her face changed, not much. The skin around her eyes tightened, and her mouth went flat. "You are not the last person to hear things," she said. "You are the person everyone is most afraid to tell." That stopped me. She carried the magazines toward the mudroom. I stayed in the kitchen, holding Aaron's key. After a minute, I said, "I don't yell. No." "You get reasonable." "What's wrong with reasonable? You use it like a locked door." She set the box down harder than necessary. I wanted to tell her that made no sense. Instead, I put the key in the drawer where we kept spare batteries, takeout menus, and 3 kinds of tape that never stuck when needed. Elaine came back and leaned against the island. "Brent said his company might let him buy in," she said. "He and Dana could manage it themselves, but it would stretch them. He asked whether helping now was something we had considered. We haven't." "I know. He should have asked me. He knew what you'd say. That doesn't excuse going around me. No, it doesn't." She gave me that much, then waited. I knew what she was waiting for. "But," I said, "but you have spent years telling both boys that everything we built would be theirs someday. That's something parents say. They heard you. I also told them to change the furnace filters. They managed to ignore that. This isn't about filters, no. It's about them looking at this house and seeing a checking account with wallpaper." Elaine glanced toward the dining room. "Maybe you shouldn't have taught them that keeping the house was the same as keeping the family safe. I didn't teach them that. You taught all of us that." She left before I found an answer. I went back to the basement and stared at the spaces on the shelves. Removing 3 boxes had made the rest look worse. Dust collected in gray ledges beneath paint cans. A spider web connected my drill press to a lamp Aaron had made in shop class. The lamp leaned because one leg was shorter. I had repaired it twice without correcting that. I opened the second tub of train magazines. By the time Elaine came downstairs, I had divided them into 4 piles. "What are those?" she asked. "Keep, donate, recycle, and possibly keep. Progress." "Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not surprised. I'm suspicious of the 4th pile." She crouched beside me and picked up an issue from 1996. "Why this one?" "It has a good article about scenery." "You don't have a layout. Scenery still exists." She smiled and sat on the bottom stair. For several minutes, she watched me sort. I kept too many. She knew it. I knew she knew it. Neither of us said so. Finally, I asked, "Do you really want Willow Creek?" "No." "Do you want something like it?" "I don't know. That's not very specific. I haven't been allowed not to know yet." The magazine in my hands showed a miniature mountain with a tunnel through it. Somebody had spent hundreds of hours making foam look like stone. "I don't want to be managed by Brent," she said. "I don't want dinner at 5 because a community calendar says so. And I don't want to move somewhere just because our sons think old people should be easier to locate." "Good." but I also don't want to spend the next 10 years cleaning a dining room we use because everyone expects us to use it. We use it. On Sundays. The boys come on Sundays. They come because I cook. That's not the only reason. She gave me a look. It's one of several reasons, I said. I'm not cooking next Sunday. You could make something simple. I'm not making anything. We can order pizza. We're not hosting. That word bothered me more than it should have. Then what are we doing? We're going to Brent's. Does Brent know? He will. She pulled out her phone. The family message thread took 23 minutes to settle the matter. Brent said he and Dana had plans Sunday evening. Elaine said dinner could be earlier. Aaron said he was flexible, which meant he had forgotten whatever he was supposed to do. Dana sent a thumbs up. Brent asked why there was suddenly a problem with dinner at our house. Elaine typed because I couldn't think of an answer that didn't contain the phrase ungrateful jackass. We're trying something different. Brent replied. Why? Elaine wrote. Because different is good, remember? I married her for many reasons. That message moved into the top 10. Brent and Dana lived in a stone front house in Dublin with 3 garage bays and no visible garbage cans. The first time we visited after they bought it, Brent gave me a tour that included an explanation of the thermostats. There were 4. I had one thermostat and knew how to operate it without a guided presentation. We arrived Sunday at 4 carrying a bottle of wine and the potato salad Elaine made after insisting all week she would not make anything. It's a side, she said when I pointed this out. It required boiling. Don't ruin my growth. Dana answered the door barefoot. She looked surprised to see us, though we were only 6 minutes early. You're here, she said. That was the arrangement, I replied. No, I mean, come in. The house smelled like lemon cleaner. Music played from hidden speakers. A large arrangement of white flowers occupied the kitchen island, and 3 aluminum catering trays sat on the counter. I looked at Elaine. Not a word, she whispered. Brent appeared from the hallway wearing gray slacks and a blue shirt. He hugged his mother, then looked at the bowl in her hands. You didn't have to bring anything. I know, she said. Is that potato salad? No, it's a lamp. He missed the tone entirely. Put it by the chicken. The cabinet beneath his sink hung slightly crooked. I had noticed it on our last visit. The top hinge was loose, probably because the screw had stripped its hole. 10 minutes with a dowel and glue would fix it. I looked away before he followed my eyes. Aaron arrived at 4:30 with a grocery store pie and his guitar in the back seat. Why is that in your car? I asked. I haven't bought the wall mount. Bring it inside. Why? Heat will warp the neck. You said I was allowed to damage it. I didn't say you had to be stupid. He carried it into the house. Brent told him not to lean it against the wall, so Aaron laid it on the formal living room sofa. Dana looked at it once and chose not to look again. Dinner was served on white plates at the long kitchen table. The chicken came in slices of identical thickness. The green beans contained almonds and no salt. Brent opened the wine we brought, poured half a glass for each person, then put the cork back in. I've got a call at 6, he said. Elaine looked at him. It's Sunday. Tokyo is already in Monday, then called him yesterday. Aaron laughed into his water. Brent pointed his fork at him. Some of us have clients, some of us have boundaries. You sent Dad 6 messages about a guitar mount? That was research. Dana pushed the potato salad toward me. This is good, Elaine. Thank you. You could have brought it in a disposable bowl. It tastes different in plastic. It did not, but I appreciated her commitment. For 12 minutes, the conversation stayed on safe subjects. Dana had painted the upstairs bathroom. Aaron's apartment complex had changed management. The weather was hotter than expected. Then Brent asked whether we had thought any more about Willow Creek. Elaine placed her fork down. We're eating. That's when this family talks. No, I said. That's when this family chews while you make proposals. He ignored me. They have an open house next Saturday. I made an appointment. You made us an appointment? It's just a tour. Cancel it. Why? Because I said so. Aaron leaned back. Here we go. I turned to him. You have something to add? Nope, I'm a guest. Apparently that's what we're practicing. Elaine touched my wrist. A tour isn't a commitment. I looked at her. She held my gaze. We can look. At Willow Creek, at what they offer, at what we don't want, at what we might. Brent sat back with the satisfied expression of a man whose meeting had returned to the agenda. I wanted to refuse simply to remove that look from his face. Instead, I said, we'll make our own appointment. It's already made. Then unmake it. Dad, your mother and I will look where we choose, when we choose. If we decide to visit that place, we'll drive ourselves. The clock on the oven read 5:22. Brent's call was 38 minutes away. His eyes moved to it anyway. Dana saw me notice. So, she said brightly, who wants pie? The pie was still frozen in the center. We ate it with spoons while Aaron read the heating instructions aloud and Brent kept checking the time. At 5:54, he stood and began stacking plates. Elaine looked around the table. Are we finished? I need to prep for the call. Of course, I told everyone beforehand. You announced it after we arrived. I didn't realize dinner required a minimum duration. She folded her napkin. It requires wanting people to stay. Nobody spoke after that. Dana began clearing. I stood to help, but Elaine picked up the potato salad and headed for the front door. There was half a bowl left. At our house, she would have found containers for everyone, wrapped the chicken, washed the serving spoon, and wiped beneath the bowl. I followed her. In the driveway, Aaron opened his back door to put the guitar inside. I took it from him and handed it back. Front seat, I said. He didn't argue. As we pulled away, I saw Brent in the kitchen through the wide front window. He was carrying his laptop to the table, while Dana stood alone at the sink. Elaine held the potato salad on her knees. Different enough for you? I asked. She watched their house disappear behind us. No, she said, but useful. 3 miles later, she told me to turn left instead of right. That's not the way home. I know. Where are we going? She smoothed the thumb over the rim of the bowl. I want to see Willow Creek. And because the alternative was returning to our empty dining room and pretending I had not heard her, I turned. Willow Creek had a stone entrance large enough to defend a minor country. 2 lanterns illuminated the name on either side of the road. Beyond them, low buildings curved around ponds that did not appear to have been dug by nature. Everything was beige, including the rocks. This is 12 minutes from Brent, I asked, according to the brochure. He probably measured during good traffic. Elaine held the potato salad while I drove slowly past a row of attached homes. Each had the same porch, the same shrubs, and a small brass number beside the door. One porch contained 2 red chairs instead of the approved-looking tan ones. I respected whoever lived there. We passed the clubhouse. Light spilled through tall windows onto the circular drive. Inside, several people were dancing, while a man in a vest stood beside a keyboard. Looks terrible, Elaine said. Could be a cult. They have better rhythm than our church. That's how they get you. She laughed, and some of the tightness left the car. I parked near the fountain from the brochure. The bicyclists were gone. In their place, a man in shorts was walking a white dog that looked embarrassed by its haircut. We can't just wander around, I said. Why not? Because we don't live here. We didn't live at the mall for 40 years either. She got out with the bowl still in her hands. I followed her along the path. The fountain sounded expensive. Water ran over 3 levels of stone into a pool lit from below. Benches faced it at careful angles. Every 20 feet, a small sign reminded dog owners to be considerate. The man with the white dog approached us. Sales offices closed, he said. We're not buying anything, I replied. Elaine held up the potato salad. Obviously. He looked at the bowl. You'd be surprised. His name was Frank. The dog was Gloria. Frank had moved into Willow Creek 2 years earlier after his wife decided she was done shoveling snow. He told us this as if the wife might still change her mind if he kept his voice down. How do you like it? Elaine asked. It's fine. That enthusiastic? They cut the grass. The roof isn't my problem. There's a man named Dennis who organizes pickleball like national security, but you can avoid him if you learn his schedule. I nodded toward the clubhouse. What's happening in there? Sunday social, music, drinks, people pretending Monday matters. Frank bent to adjust Gloria's leash. You looking at a condo? We're looking at looking, Elaine said. Don't buy near the fountain. The lights attract bugs. He walked away before I could ask about the woodworking shop. We sat on a bench. The air smelled like fresh mulch. Across the water, a couple carried folding chairs from their garage. Someone had left a newspaper in a driveway. A woman in a purple shirt watered flowers that probably belonged to the landscaping service. It's not awful, Elaine said. It's too clean. Our basement has changed your standards. I don't like the roofs. What's wrong with them? They're all the same. Roofs are not supposed to express personality. That's where you're wrong. She set the potato salad between us. I don't want to live here. I looked at her. I wanted to see it, she said. I wanted you to see that looking wouldn't kill us. The night is young. Walter, I'm looking, you're inspecting. That's how I look. She watched the fountain. Frank seemed happy. Frank seemed resigned. Sometimes those look alike after 60. I leaned back. The bench was more comfortable than it appeared, which annoyed me. What are you looking for? I asked. I don't know yet. You must know something. She thought about it. I want a place we choose now, she said. Not a place we chose when we were trying to stretch a paycheck and get 2 boys into separate bedrooms. We love that house. I still love it. But I want to know whether we would choose it today. The fountain continued doing unnecessary things with water. I thought of the retaining wall, the roof I had replaced 8 years earlier, the maple tree Aaron broke his arm falling out of, though he had been specifically instructed not to climb it. I thought of Elaine sitting at the kitchen table with bills arranged by due date while I worked overtime. I thought of the first night we slept there with no curtains and a refrigerator that made a sound like a truck changing gears. The house had been a decision once. Somewhere along the way, I had turned it into a fact. We could look at other places, I said. Elaine's head turned slowly. Not here, I heard you, and not because Brent scheduled it. I heard that too, somewhere without identical roofs. You have very strong feelings about roofs for a man who claims he isn't stuck. I stood and picked up the potato salad. On the drive home, Elaine called her sister, Marjorie, using the car speaker. Marjorie answered with, "Did you sell the house?" "What did you tell her?" I asked. "Hello to you too, Walter," Marjorie said. "We have not sold anything," Elaine told her. "Then why are you calling me on speaker?" Speaker means announcement or emergency. We drove through Willow Creek. Marjorie made a thoughtful humming sound. "Is that the place with the bicycle people?" "The bicycles are apparently optional," I said. Elaine told her we were only looking. Marjorie said there was a small house for sale near her, then immediately claimed she wasn't suggesting anything. "You suggested it before I finished the sentence," Elaine said. "I'm being supportive. You're circling like a vulture. A supportive vulture." I liked Marjorie from a distance. Up close, she and Elaine could turn a grocery list into a dispute over childhood fairness. "We'll call you later," Elaine said. "Fine. But look at the house online. It has a red door." "Good night, Marjorie. A new roof too, Walter." Elaine ended the call. "Red door," I said. "Don't encourage her." She led with the weaker feature. At home, I parked in the driveway instead of the garage. We sat for a moment with the headlights shining against the front of the house. The cream siding needed washing near the downspout. One upstairs shutter sat a fraction lower than the other. Light glowed behind the dining room curtains. We had left the lamp on. "Would you choose it today?" Elaine asked. "I wouldn't choose the wallpaper." "That was not the question. I know." She carried the potato salad inside. The train club met Thursday evenings in the back room of a community center 15 minutes away. I found them through a phone number taped to a bulletin board at the hardware store because their website had not been updated since 2017, which I considered a good sign. A man named Carl met me at the side door. He wore suspenders and had a beard that looked built rather than grown. "You brought magazines?" he asked. 4 boxes. His face changed. "How old?" "Starting in 1994. "Complete years?" "Mostly." He opened the first box in my trunk as reverently as a priest lifting a lid. "We can use these." "Use them how?" "Reference table. New members. Some folks prefer paper." "Exactly." He looked at me. "You have a layout?" "Not currently." "What scale?" "I haven't decided." "How long have you been planning?" I did not answer quickly enough. Carl smiled. "We've got a lot of planners." He carried 2 boxes inside, then came back for the others. I kept the 12 magazines on the passenger side floor. "Come in," he said. "We run trains until 9. I told my wife I'd be home. Bring her next week. She's not interested in trains. Neither is my wife. She likes leaving the house." I stayed 40 minutes. When I got home, Elaine was reading in the living room. She looked at the 2 empty spots where the magazine boxes had been stacked near the mudroom. "You found a club. I told you there was one. How many did you keep?" "An appropriate number." She glanced at the canvas bag in my hand. 12, approximately. "Progress," she said again. Sunday was Aaron's turn to host. At 10 that morning, he texted the family thread. "Bad migraine. Can we reschedule?" Elaine read it over my shoulder. He doesn't get migraines, I said. He gets headaches. He gets headaches when he has to clean. She took out her phone. I stopped her. What are you doing? I can put a roast in. No, we need to eat. We ate before we had sons. Not well. Then this is our chance to improve. At noon, Aaron sent another message. Sorry, next week for sure. Brent replied with a thumbs up. Dana wrote, feel better. Elaine typed nothing. At 4, she opened the refrigerator and looked inside. I took her coat from the hook. Where are we going? She asked. Dinner. On a Sunday, the roads still work. We drove to a small Italian place we had passed for years without entering because Sunday dinner was always at our house. The dining room had red glass candles and framed photographs of people nobody identified. Our waitress was about our age and called me honey without asking permission. Elaine ordered a second glass of wine. What? She said when I looked at her. Nothing. You're inspecting again? I'm looking, she smiled. We split a piece of lemon cake and did not bring half of it home for either son. On the way back, we passed a white sign with red letters in front of a one-story brick house. Open house, it said. Today. 2-6. Elaine saw it at the same time I did. Neither of us spoke until we had gone half a block. Then I turned the car around. The open house had 6 minutes left. A woman in a navy blazer opened the front door before we reached it. She wore a name tag that said Rita, and the alert smile of someone trained to detect hesitation. Come in, she said. You're just in time. We're only looking, I told her. That's what open houses are for. Then why do you have a clipboard? Walter, Elaine murmured. Rita handed us paper covers for our shoes. I looked down at my loafers. They're clean. The floors are new. Mine aren't. Elaine took 2 pairs and handed me one. The house was a ranch with pale walls, gray floors, and ceiling lights the size of dinner plates. It smelled like cinnamon, despite there being no visible cinnamon. A battery-operated candle flickered on the kitchen counter. Everything has been updated, Rita said. I opened a cabinet. Walter, what? You don't need to test it. The hinge is loose. Rita's smile tightened by 1 degree. The seller will address any inspection findings. I just found one for free. Elaine walked into the living room before the woman could answer. The house had 2 bedrooms and a small office. There were no stairs except 2 down to the attached garage. The laundry room was off the kitchen instead of in the basement. Sliding doors opened onto a concrete patio surrounded by a wooden privacy fence. It was sensible. I disliked it immediately. The primary bedroom has an accessible bath, Rita said. What's inaccessible about a regular bath? I asked. Nothing until it is. Elaine stepped into the shower and turned around slowly. This is nice. We have a shower. We have a tub with a shower in it. You step into both. One requires climbing. It's 14 inches. Rita pretended to examine her clipboard. Elaine ran her hand along the wall tile. I watched her imagine mornings that did not begin by gripping a rail I installed after she strained her knee. She had never complained about the rail. She had thanked me. There was a difference between fixing a problem and removing it. I had always preferred fixing. We continued into the office. A narrow window faced the side fence. There was enough room for a desk and 1 bookcase. Where would my workbench go? I asked. The garage is oversized, Rita said. It was not. The garage held 2 cars if both drivers were familiar with prayer. A water heater occupied 1 corner, and shelves had been mounted along the back wall. I measured the distance between them with my eyes. No, I said. Elaine leaned toward me. We're looking. I looked. We don't have to buy this one. This one? Rita heard opportunity. Are you planning to downsize locally? We're planning to finish our evening, I said. Elaine ignored me. We've only started talking. Do you have a home to sell? Yes, she said. Maybe, I said at the same time. Rita's smile returned to full strength. She asked our neighborhood and approximate square footage. Elaine answered before I could object. Rita named a price range wide enough to be useless, but high enough to make both of us quiet. Inventory in your area is limited, she said. A well-maintained home could attract strong interest. It has wallpaper, Elaine said. Wallpaper can be removed, I said. Not easily. Rita handed Elaine her card. If you'd like, I can stop by and give you a more informed opinion. No obligation. I could think of at least 6 obligations created by inviting a real estate agent into your home, beginning with having a real estate agent in your home. Elaine slipped the card into her purse. We drove away without discussing the house. At the first red light, I said, "The garage was not oversized." "No, the patio was poured badly." "Yes, the second bedroom faced a retaining pond." "Also true." "You liked the shower." "I did." I turned onto the main road. After another mile, she asked, "Did you like anything?" "The cabinet pulls were solid. I'll inform Rita. I didn't say I wanted them." "No, that would be reckless." At home, our driveway looked long enough to land an airplane. The porch light illuminated the maple near the walk, the flower bed Elaine had replanted every spring, and the garage roof I had shingled with Aaron 12 years earlier. He complained for most of that Saturday, then took a picture from the ladder after we finished. Inside, the dining room felt too large. I hung my coat and noticed a dark scuff on the baseboard near the stairs. I got a rag and cleaned it. Elaine watched me from the doorway. "What?" I asked. "Nothing." "You're looking. I'm inspecting." The next morning, I replaced a cracked switch plate in the upstairs hall. After lunch, I tightened the railing and patched 2 nail holes in Brent's old room. I told myself the holes bothered me because I could see them now that his plaques were gone. By Wednesday, I had made a list. Elaine found it on the workbench. "What's north gutter pitch?" she asked. "The north gutter has a low spot." "Since when?" "Since the addition." "That was 22 years ago. I've been monitoring it." She read farther. "Touch up garage trim, seal driveway, replace dining room outlet. The outlet is discolored. Are you repairing the house to keep it or repairing it to sell it?" "Yes." "That is not how the question works. It's how the work works." She folded the list and placed it back on the bench. Rita called. "Why does Rita have our number?" I gave it to her. "When?" "While you were measuring the garage with your face." I put down the screwdriver. "She can come Friday afternoon," Elaine said. "No, she's giving us information. We have the internet." "You don't trust prices on the internet." "I don't trust Rita either. You knew her for 6 minutes. She complimented those floors." Elaine waited. I looked at the shelves behind her. Several gaps had appeared, but Aaron's drum cases still occupied the bottom row. The snare was in one, 2 toms in another, and a cymbal bag leaned behind them. His full set had once taken up the center of the basement. Over the years, parts migrated into corners like a band breaking up badly. "Fine," I said. "She can look." Elaine smiled. "Friday, 1 hour. I'll tell her 45 minutes. That's why we've lasted." At the community center Thursday, Carl showed me a half-finished train platform the club had been building for its fall display. It had a mountain, a station, and 3 loops of track. "You need help with the wiring," I said. "We need help with everything." A flyer on the bulletin board advertised an adult beginner music night. Bring an instrument. No experience required. A woman named Monica was setting up folding chairs in the next room. "You take donated instruments?" I asked. "Sometimes," she said. "Depends what they are." "Drums." Her face brightened. "A full kit?" "Most of one. We could use it. Our drummer brings a snare and plays everything else on chairbacks. I'll let you know." I took a photograph of the flyer and sent it to Aaron. 10 days left. "If you don't want the drums, this group does." He called before I put the phone away. "You offered my drums to strangers?" I asked whether they accept instruments. "You had no right. I haven't given them anything." "Then why are you talking to people?" "Because the cases have been in my basement since the first Bush administration." "That is an exaggeration." "The second Bush administration." "They're mine." "I'm pleased we agree. I said I'd get my stuff." "You took 1 guitar and a box of photographs." "I need time." "You have 10 days. I'm supposed to host Sunday. That was your second try. I know what it was. Then host." He was silent. In the room beside me, someone struck a piano chord, stopped, and tried again. "Dad, just don't touch the drums. Come get them." "You don't understand." "I understand they belong at your apartment or with someone who will use them." "No, you don't understand what you're doing." His voice had changed. The anger was still there, but something underneath it had opened. "What am I doing?" I asked. "You're taking the whole place apart." I leaned against the bulletin board. "We're clearing rooms." "No, you're erasing them." "Nobody's erasing anything." "You gave away the magazines. Brent took his plaques. Mom put the old comforters in bags. Every time I come over, something else is gone. You asked us to sell. I asked you to think about it. Thinking apparently requires storage." He breathed into the phone. "I drive by sometimes," he said. "Drive by what?" "The house." You visit the house? No. I mean, when I'm not visiting. I'll be going home and take the long way. I waited. He continued more quietly. After Melanie moved out, I drove past 3 nights in a row. I didn't come in. I just wanted to see the light on. I looked through the community center doors. Outside, the parking lot lamps had come on. A man carried a trumpet case toward the building. A woman behind him held a tambourine and looked embarrassed by it. You could have come inside, I said. That wasn't the point. What was? I needed somewhere to still be the same. I closed my eyes. That was the answer he had given me at Brent's table when I asked whether selling was good for me or comforting for him. Can it be both? I'm sorry about the drums, I said. His breath released. Then I added, You still have 10 days. Dad? I can understand why you need the house and still refuse to store your drums. You always do that. Do what? Act like understanding somebody is a separate activity from helping them. I almost used the calm voice. I felt it waiting, ready to explain that he was 38, that his marriage had ended, that a porch light could not rebuild it. Instead, I said, Maybe helping you keep everything the same is how I helped you get here. He had no answer to that. Neither did I. On Sunday afternoon, Aaron sent a photograph to the family thread. His apartment table was set for 5. The plates did not match. The guitar hung crookedly on the wall behind it. Dinner at 5, he wrote. Don't be early. At 4:59, Elaine and I knocked. Aaron opened the door, wearing an apron over his shirt. Something smelled burned. He pointed a wooden spoon at us. Nobody say anything. We haven't, I said. You were about to. I was breathing. Do it quietly. Behind him, smoke drifted out of the kitchen, and from somewhere inside the apartment came the unmistakable sound of a drum falling over. Aaron disappeared toward the sound. Stay there, he called. We just arrived, Elaine said. I mean, don't come in the kitchen. The drum fell in the other direction. I'm aware. His apartment had the anxious cleanliness of a place prepared in one afternoon. Vacuum lines crossed the carpet. A stack of unopened mail had been hidden badly beneath a couch cushion. The guitar hung on the wall at an angle that made me want to straighten the entire building. One drum case stood beside the television. Another blocked the hallway. Through the open door of the second bedroom, I could see the cymbal bag leaning against a desk covered with clothes. You got them, I said. Aaron returned carrying a tom by its rim. Most of them. What does most mean? The bass drum is still in your basement. Why? It didn't fit in the car. The car has a back seat. The back seat had groceries. You could make 2 trips. You've been here 30 seconds. 31. Elaine took the tom from him. Where do you want this? He pointed to the second bedroom. She carried it away before I could explain that storing a drum on its side could damage the head. Aaron narrowed his eyes at me. I can see the words building up behind your face. I haven't said anything. That's why it's frightening. The kitchen timer began shrieking. He spun around and ran. Brent and Dana arrived at 5:12. Brent blamed traffic. Dana held a bottle of wine and a bag containing bread from a bakery, which suggested she had anticipated conditions inside. Aaron opened the door with an oven mitt on one hand. You're late. You said not to be early, Brent replied. That is not the same as late. What happened in here? Dinner? Smoke had thinned to a gray layer near the ceiling. The smoke detector remained silent because Aaron had taken it down and placed it on the counter. I picked it up. This is supposed to be attached. It was being dramatic. It detects fire. There was no fire. Elaine looked at the blackened pan in the sink. What was that? Garlic bread. Dana slowly lowered her bakery bag. The main dish was baked ziti. The top was burned, the center was lukewarm, and several tubes of pasta had fused into architectural shapes. Aaron served it anyway. Sauce is good, I said. It came from a jar. It was a good jar. He waited for more. I ate another bite. Elaine had spent years intercepting meals before they reached this point. She would adjust seasoning, lower heat, replace a ruined side dish without anyone seeing the failure. I had done the same with broken shelves, dead batteries, leaking faucets, and cars making noises our sons preferred not to hear. That evening, neither of us rescued anything. Dana opened the wine. Brent cut away the worst part of the ziti and pretended he preferred edges. The bakery bread was excellent. Aaron had made a salad containing whole cherry tomatoes, stems included on 2 of them. This is nice, Elaine said. Aaron looked around the table. Really? The company is nice. Strong qualification. The plates are beautiful, Dana offered. They came with the apartment. Brent turned his over. You're supposed to remove these stickers. Why are you inspecting my dishes? Dad does it to cabinets. I inspect construction, not tableware. Brent's expression shifted. Speaking of that, how did Friday go? Aaron stopped with his fork halfway to his mouth. What happened Friday? Rita came to the house, Elaine said. Who's Rita? The real estate agent. Aaron set down his fork. She gave us an opinion, I said. Not an appraisal, not a contract, and not permission for anyone to start dividing the curtains. How much? Brent asked. Enough that you've forgotten to pretend this isn't about money. I asked a normal question. Ask what she thought of the wallpaper. What did she think of the wallpaper? Dana asked. She said it could be removed, Elaine replied. I shook my head. No respect for materials. Aaron had gone quiet. The laughter moved around him without landing. I watched him look toward the guitar. The apartment walls were painted the same beige as Willow Creek, but the crooked instrument, crowded table, and drum case in the living room made the place look less temporary than it had when we entered. We haven't decided anything, I told him. He nodded once. Okay. Brent leaned forward. But Rita thinks the market is good? Rita always thinks the market is good. It's printed on her face. Walter, Elaine said. She said there would likely be interest, I admitted. Then waiting could cost you. Doing something could also cost us. I'm not pressuring you. Aaron laughed. Brent turned. What? You scheduled them a retirement tour and brought a sales brochure to dinner, which you agreed with? I agreed they should think about moving. I didn't ask for quarterly updates. You called me after Dad's ladder fall. I called because he fell, and we discussed the house. We discussed Mom finding him on the patio, with a gutter clip stuck in his hair. It was attached to my hat, I said. Elaine placed both palms on the table. Stop talking about us as though we left the room. Everyone stopped. She looked at Brent. We are not moving to Willow Creek. His face fell in a way he tried to disguise by reaching for bread. We might move, she continued. We might not. We are looking at options, including places farther away. Farther from what? He asked. You. Dana coughed into her wine. Elaine smiled. Not specifically you. Farther from this area. That doesn't make sense, Brent said. The whole point is to be closer to family. Your point, I said. Why would you move away as you get older? Maybe we want to be harder to locate. He looked at his mother. Where? Marjorie keeps sending houses. Near Aunt Marjorie? She has excellent taste in doors. Brent turned to me as if I might restore order. You don't want to live near Marjorie? I don't want to live with Marjorie. You know what I mean. I'm learning that everyone knows what I mean better than I do. The meal ended without a decision, which bothered Brent more than a refusal would have. He functioned best when every meeting produced a next step. Aaron brought out a pie he had baked himself. The crust was pale, the filling ran onto the plate, and it was one of the best apple pies I had eaten. You made this? I asked. The internet helped. Elaine took a second piece. After dinner, Aaron carried plates to the sink. I stood automatically. Sit down, he said. I was going to help. You were going to reorganize my dishwasher. It has one rack. It has two. The upper one is decorative. He pointed at my chair. I sat. Brent checked the cabinet beneath the sink when he thought I wasn't looking. It closed properly. On our way out, Aaron caught me by the elevator. Bass drum tomorrow, he said. I'll be home. I know. The elevator doors opened. He scratched the back of his neck. Thanks for not fixing dinner. I didn't know how. You would have found a way. He was right. I stepped into the elevator beside Elaine. Just before the doors closed, Aaron said, It was good though, right? The pie was. He laughed as the doors met. At 10 the next morning, Dana pulled into our driveway in a rented cargo van. I went outside. Where's Brent? Work. He said he'd get the desk. He sent me. The back of the van already contained 2 bookshelves from his old room and several labeled boxes. Dana had removed them from their own garage before coming, which told me more than she intended. I can help load, she said. You shouldn't have to. I married him. I've had time to read the terms. We carried the bass drum upstairs first and set it near the front door for Aaron. Then we went to the garage. The broken desk stood beneath a canvas drop cloth. It was solid oak, scarred along one edge and missing a lower brace. Brent used it from 7th grade through college. I had built it from plans I found in a library book, Back when I believe furniture stayed where you put it. Dana lifted the cloth. He wants this? He says he does. He wants me to fix it. I know. Did he tell you to ask? No. That answer made me like her. We removed the drawers to lighten it. Inside the bottom one was a brass nameplate from Brent's first office. Brent Hale, Associate Account Manager. He had moved through 4 titles since then. Dana turned it over in her hand. He saves everything that proves he was going somewhere. He gets that from me. He gets more from you than either of you enjoys admitting. We maneuvered the desk through the side door. Halfway to the van, she said, "He's scared. Of splinters? Of you getting older. So he wants us 12 minutes away. He likes problems he can put on a schedule." I lowered my end to adjust my grip. Dana continued. One of his colleagues lost his father last year. Heart attack. He was alone for most of a day before anyone knew. I looked at her. He didn't tell you? No, he probably thought it sounded manipulative. Brent has never let that stop him. She smiled, but only briefly. The company investment is real, so is his concern. He mixes motives until even he can't tell which one is driving. We slid the desk into the van. Can he afford the investment? I asked, with sacrifices. That wasn't my question. Yes, she said. We can afford it. He just doesn't like making a leap without a net. And I'm the net. You've always been the net. The words were not accusing. That made them harder to reject. She closed the van doors. Don't fix the desk, she said. He can hire someone or learn. After she left, I carried Aaron's bass drum onto the porch so I wouldn't forget it. Then I sat beside it and looked across the lawn. That afternoon, the 30-day deadline ended. The garage held my tools, 2 broken radios, 1 leaning shop-class lamp, and no belongings that my sons could claim they had forgotten. The house felt lighter. It also sounded wrong. When Elaine came outside, she found me turning Aaron's old key over in my fingers. Marjorie called, she said. Of course she did. The house with the red door is under contract. Then we've been spared. She found 3 more. I put the key in my pocket. She wants us to come for the weekend, Elaine said, just to look around. At houses? At a different life. I glanced through the open garage at the bare concrete where the desk had stood. When? Friday. I waited for the locked door and my voice to close. It didn't. Tell her we'll be there by dinner, I said. The drive to Marjorie's took 1 hour and 47 minutes because Elaine refused to let me stop for gas near home. We have half a tank, she said. We're going into hills. We're going to Athens, not crossing the Rockies. You don't know what traffic will be like. I know what your bladder will be like if you buy that gas station coffee. I stopped anyway. Elaine used the restroom and returned with the largest coffee they sold. Marriage is mostly losing arguments nobody admits having. We reached Marjorie's bungalow a little before 6. She lived on the east side of town, where the streets rose and dipped without warning, and the houses appeared to have been placed wherever they could find level ground. Her front door was blue. What happened to red? I asked when she opened it. That was the house for sale. You made it sound like a governing principle. She hugged Elaine, then me. Marjorie was 3 years younger than Elaine and wore her gray hair in a short cut that made people assume she was organized. She was not. Her entryway contained 7 pairs of shoes, none pointing in the same direction, and a ceramic bowl overflowing with unopened mail. You're late, she said. We're early, I replied. For dinner, perhaps. For moving, you're about 5 years late. Elaine walked past her. We can still go to a hotel. You already brought Walter. I've accepted the damage. Marjorie had made chili. She served it with cornbread and a bottle of red wine that did not belong with either. We ate at a round table beneath a window overlooking her backyard. Wind chimes knocked against one another outside. She asked no questions about our house for the first 20 minutes. That meant she had rehearsed. Finally, she set down her spoon. I printed some listings. Of course you did, I said. They're on the counter. I saw the stack. You looked. I was locating the bathroom. Through real estate. Elaine touched my knee under the table. It might have been affection. It might have been a warning. Marjorie had selected 5 houses. 2 had red doors, proving she was enjoying herself. 1 was larger than our current home. 1 had an upstairs bedroom despite our only agreed requirement being no stairs. Another had a kitchen that appeared designed for a submarine. This one's nice, Elaine said, pointing to a brick ranch near Marjorie's neighborhood. It backs up to a cemetery, I said. Quiet neighbors. They're downhill. Drainage could be an issue. Marjorie looked at her sister. Does he do this with menus? He once asked a waiter how the tilapia had been stored. The answer mattered. Did it? Elaine asked. I ordered the chicken. Marjorie raised her glass. To new experiences. I've had chicken before. She had appointments arranged for Saturday. I turned to Elaine. I thought we were looking around. This is looking around, with an escort. Walter, if we only drive past houses, you'll reject them based on gutters. Gutters reveal priorities. Marjorie said, I'm charging you both after 9. The guest room had a full-size bed, a floral quilt, and one nightstand. My suitcase occupied the space between the bed and wall. Elaine had packed light. I had brought 2 shirts, 3 pairs of socks, a flashlight, a tape measure, and a small screwdriver set. She watched me place the tools in the drawer. What repairs are you expecting at Marjorie's? Expecting is not the same as preparing. You brought less underwear than equipment. I can buy underwear. Can you? There are stores here. We're making progress already. I lay awake longer than she did. Through the open window, I heard people talking as they walked past the house. Somewhere down the hill, music drifted from a bar or restaurant. A train horn sounded in the distance. It was not quiet, but it was a different kind of noise than home. At home, I knew every car that slowed on our street and every branch that scraped the siding. Here, sounds passed without asking me to identify them. The first house Saturday had a beautiful shower and no place for a workbench. The second had a 2-car garage and a basement staircase steep enough to require climbing gear. The third was the brick ranch by the cemetery. A young agent named Paul opened the lockbox while Marjorie gave us information he had not asked for. They've been married 44 years, she said. 45, I corrected. Elaine wants to be near me, I said closer. Walter needs hobbies that involve other people. I have a train club. You donated magazines? That's not membership. Paul held the door open. Take your time. The house was smaller than ours, but larger than the open house near home. It had 3 bedrooms, one converted into a sewing room, and a sunroom overlooking a sloping backyard. Beyond the fence, old trees hid most of the cemetery. The garage had a workbench. It was built into the wall, heavy and scarred, with pegboard above it. A vise was mounted at one corner. I tested the vise. Elaine leaned against the doorframe. Well, the jaws are misaligned. So you hate it. I didn't say that. Her smile made me turn away. The house had not been updated into gray submission. The kitchen cabinets were painted cream. The floor creaked near the refrigerator. One bedroom still had blue wallpaper with tiny gold stars. I liked it, which created an immediate need to identify everything wrong with it. The windows were older, the driveway was narrow, the furnace had 9 years on it. A patch on the sunroom ceiling suggested a roof leak, though Paul said the roof had been repaired. Repair and solution are different words, I told him. I can get the paperwork, he said. We're not making an offer, I replied. Nobody had asked us to. Afterward, Marjorie took us downtown. We parked once and walked to a coffee shop, a used bookstore, and a restaurant where a trio played music near the front window. Elaine knew the singer, not personally. She had seen her perform the last time she visited Marjorie. When was that? I asked. Last fall. You never mentioned music? You didn't ask what we did? I asked if you had a good time. I said yes. That usually covers it. Marjorie stopped walking and looked between us. I'm going into the bookstore before this becomes educational. She left us on the sidewalk. Across the street, volunteers were carrying lumber into a former auto shop. A sign above the open garage door read, Community Works. Inside I could see tables, tool cabinets, and half-built furniture. What's that? I asked. A repair cooperative, Elaine said. Marjorie told me about it. What do they repair? Things? What kind of things? Broken things, Walter. I crossed the street. A man wearing safety glasses was helping a woman clamp a chair leg. Another man stood at a bench taking apart a toaster. Shelves along one wall held jars of screws labeled by size. The labels were accurate. A woman named Celia greeted us. She explained that members shared tools and helped one another with household repairs. Once a month, they held a repair night for anyone who wanted to bring in a broken appliance or piece of furniture. Do people know what they're doing? I asked. Some do, she said. Some learn. That chair joint needs more glue. The woman holding the clamp looked up. Would you like to do it? I'm only observing. Then observe quietly. Elaine covered her mouth. I liked the woman too. We stayed half an hour. I helped align the chair leg after being invited properly. Celia showed me the electrical bench and complained that their best soldering iron had disappeared. Elaine sat near the open door, talking to a woman who volunteered at the local theater. When we left, she hooked her arm through mine. "You disappeared," I said. "I was 20 feet away. You were making theater plans. I was having a conversation. I had one too. Yours involved glue. It was still a conversation." Marjorie waited outside the bookstore with 2 paper bags and the patience of a person collecting evidence. "I assume we're moving here now," she said. "We're not moving anywhere," I replied. But that night, I asked whether the brick house had sold. Marjorie tried not to look pleased. She failed. "It's still available," she said. "We're not making an offer. I heard you the first 8 times." Elaine and I sat on the back steps after Marjorie went to bed. The wind chimes moved overhead. A porch light glowed 2 houses down. "Do you like that house?" she asked. "The workbench is good." "The house, Walter. It has problems. So does ours. I know ours. That doesn't make them smaller." I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the step. The wood needed sealing. "Would you really want to be this close to Marjorie?" I asked. "She isn't contagious. You haven't shared a bathroom with her. She'd be close, not inside. 47 houses away. Did you count?" I looked at the map. Elaine rested her shoulder against mine. "I don't need that house. I don't even need this town. I need to know we can choose something because we want it, not because Brent wants us contained or Aaron needs a light left on. What if I want the light, then take the lamp?" I smiled. She looked down at her hands. "I've wanted to travel with Marjorie for years. You travel, I visit her. That's not the same. Then go somewhere. I almost did. 3 years ago, she asked me to go to Santa Fe. Why didn't you? It was the week before Thanksgiving. You could have gone. Could I? Yes. Who would have made dinner? We would have figured it out." She turned toward me. "That is what you always say, after I've already done it." I had no defense that did not sound like another locked door. The next morning, we drove home. Near Columbus, Brent called. I let it go to the car speaker. "How was the trip?" he asked. "Marjorie is alive," I said. "Did you look at houses?" "We looked at several." There was a pause. "Why there?" "Your mother likes it. It's almost 2 hours away. 1 hour 47. "That's not better." Elaine leaned toward the speaker. "We haven't decided anything. Then don't make an emotional decision because Aunt Marjorie showed you a cute downtown. We're 66 and 68, I said. We're allowed emotional decisions. What about practicality? We're allowed that too. Can we come over tonight and talk? No. Why not? Because we've been in the car all morning. We could bring dinner." Elaine looked at me. "What kind?" she asked. Brent hesitated, caught without a prepared answer. "Whatever you want." "No meeting," I said. "Just dinner." "Fine, and you stay after to clean." Another pause. "Fine," he repeated. He arrived with Dana and 2 bags of Chinese food. Aaron came separately carrying the bass drum, then remembered he was supposed to be taking it away, not bringing it back. We made him leave it in his car. Nobody mentioned Willow Creek. After we ate, Brent loaded the dishwasher incorrectly. I watched from the table and said nothing. When the kitchen was clean and our sons had gone, Elaine placed Rita's card between us. "I think we should list the house," she said. I looked toward the dining room, the stairs, and the dark hallway leading to the rooms we had emptied. Then I picked up the card. "Not until the north gutter is fixed," I said. Elaine picked up Rita's card and put it back in her purse. "You are not getting on a ladder." I have been climbing ladders since before Brent learned to ruin a thermostat. "You fell. I missed 1 rung." You have repeated that sentence so many times, it's becoming a diagnosis. The gutter needs correcting. Then hire someone. The suggestion offended me more than it deserved. I can fix a low spot? I know you can. Then why would I pay a man to do it? Because I would like to sell the house without becoming a widow during preparations. That ended the discussion, though I continued it privately for 2 days. A crew came Wednesday. 3 men arrived in a truck, set up ladders, adjusted the hangers along the north side, and left in 40 minutes. I watched from the driveway with my arms crossed. The youngest one climbed down and said, "You had a low spot." "I know. Looks like it's been there a while." I was monitoring it. He nodded the way medical staff nod when a patient explains his internet research. After they drove away, I ran water through the gutter with a hose. It drained properly. I felt no satisfaction. Rita came Friday with a tablet, a leather folder, and a pair of shoes that made sharp little sounds across our hardwood floors. She toured the house again, this time opening closets and making notes. "Excellent storage," she said. "It looks excellent because our sons finally removed their lives," I replied. She smiled politely. By then, she had learned which of my remarks required no response. The brick house near Marjorie went under contract before we called Paul. I pretended that confirmed my concerns about its windows. Elaine said nothing, which was worse than arguing. We decided to sell before buying anything else. Rita called this a strong position. I called it the condition in which people had no home. "You have a home now," she said. "One you want me to sell. One you've asked me to sell. I haven't asked. You signed the listing agreement. That is not the same as enthusiasm." She moved us into the dining room and began discussing preparation. Remove half the furniture, clear the kitchen counters, pack family photographs, take personal items out of the bathrooms. "You mean toothbrushes?" I asked. "Toiletries, medications, towels if they're worn. We dry ourselves with them. They're supposed to be worn. Buyers need to imagine their life here. They can't imagine around a towel." Elaine sat across from me, pressing her lips together. Rita continued. "The goal is to depersonalize." I looked around the room. The oak table had served holiday dinners, tax preparation, homework, one marriage argument that lasted until sunrise, and the night Aaron admitted Melanie had asked him to leave. There were dents in the service from forks, toys, serving platters, and Brent striking it with his class ring while insisting he had not been drinking. Depersonalize sounded clean. What it meant was removing the evidence that the house had already belonged to people. "What about the wallpaper?" Elaine asked. Rita looked toward the green vines. "We can leave it." I smiled. "It's coming back." "No," they said together. For 3 weeks we packed ourselves out of sight. We took down framed photographs from the stairway. Pale rectangles remained where sunlight had changed the paint around them. I filled the holes, then painted the wall, which made the entry look brighter and less like ours. Elaine removed appliances from the kitchen counter. Every morning, I took the coffee maker from a cabinet and returned it after use. This was apparently easier than allowing buyers to know we drank coffee. We rented a storage unit because, after lecturing our sons, we discovered we owned things too. The irony delighted Aaron. He sent me the address of the facility he used and offered to ask whether they had a family discount. I found a different company. We donated 2 chairs, the folding ping pong table, and the leaning lamp from shop class after Aaron swore he did not want it. "You kept that?" he asked. "You made it. It almost failed me. Your teacher lacked vision. It had 3 legs. One was decorative. The Zenith radio went to Community Works in Athens. Celia said somebody would repair it or use it for parts. Handing it over felt disloyal until she placed it on a shelf labeled Active Projects. One of the broken radios stayed. "Compromise," I told Elaine. "Surrender with better branding," she said. The photographer came on a Tuesday morning. She adjusted blinds, moved chairs, and asked us to take the bowl of apples off the counter because red was distracting. "They're fruit," I said. "They pull the eye. That's why they're red." Elaine carried them outside before I could object further. The listing appeared online the next afternoon. I did not recognize the house. The camera made the rooms look wide and bright. The basement appeared organized. The dining room wallpaper was described as vintage botanical, which added 10 years of dignity through vocabulary alone. The photograph of the front showed the maple tree framing the porch and the garage roof running straight behind it. Aaron sent the link to the family thread before we told either son it was live. "You listed it." Elaine replied, "We told you we were going to, not that it was today." Brent called. "The price is low," he said. "Rita says it's appropriate. You told me Rita couldn't be trusted. I said she admired gray floors. Comparable homes are listed higher. Comparable homes are still listed. You could leave $20,000 on the table. It isn't your table. I'm trying to protect you. From a fair offer? From rushing?" I looked through the kitchen toward the dining room. Sunlight hit the vines and turned them almost gold. "When I wanted to stay, I was stuck in the past," I said. "Now that I'm selling, I'm rushing. Those aren't opposites. They are from where I'm standing." He lowered his voice. "Have you decided where you're going?" "No. You put your house on the market without knowing where you'll live? We'll find a place. That isn't like you." He was right. I had never quit a job without another one arranged. Never traded a car before researching its replacement. Never removed a shelf until I knew where every object on it would go. You wanted me to change, I said, not become irresponsible. Maybe you don't get to approve the shape of it. Our first showing was Saturday morning. Rita instructed us to leave for 2 hours. Elaine and I drove to breakfast, where I checked my phone every 7 minutes despite there being nothing to check. At 10:40, Aaron entered the diner and slid into the booth beside me. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Eating breakfast. You live 20 minutes away. They're showing the house." "Yes." I drove by. "Why?" He opened the menu. "I was in the area. You work in the other direction." Elaine pushed the sugar packets toward him. "Coffee?" He shook his head. "Their car was in the driveway," he said. "Strangers." "That's generally who buys houses," I replied. "They were looking through the front window. They had an appointment." "I know. It was just weird." A waitress came. Aaron ordered toast and bacon, then changed it to eggs, then said toast was fine. "Did you ever drive past?" he asked me. "Past what?" "Your parents' old house, after they sold it." My parents moved from Indiana to Florida when I was 31. Their house had been bought by a couple who painted the brick white and cut down my mother's lilacs. I had driven by once while visiting an old friend and never did it again. "Yes," I said. "How was it?" "Not mine." "That's helpful. It's the truth." He tore open a sugar packet. He had no coffee to use. "I don't want you to think I'm against moving," he said. "I get why Mom wants it. What about me?" He looked at me. "I don't know why you want it. Neither did I. Not in a form I could explain." At 11:30, Rita texted that the buyers had left. We had another showing at 1. Aaron joined us while we wandered through a home improvement store to avoid returning. He pushed a cart we didn't need. In the lighting aisle, he stopped beneath a display of porch fixtures. "You should keep the old one," he said. "The fixture? The porch light. It belongs to the house. You installed it. That doesn't make it luggage." He touched the price tag on a similar one. "It's stupid." "What is?" "That a light can belong somewhere more than a person does." I pretended to compare bulb wattages until he moved on. The showings continued. We learned to leave the house each time, as if evacuating with manners. Lights on, counters clean, toilet lids down, valuables removed. I began resenting buyers before meeting them. One said the bedrooms were small, another disliked the detached garage. Someone suggested converting my workshop into a home gym. "That person is not getting the house," I told Rita. "They haven't made an offer." "Good." As the leaves began collecting along the fence, an offer came from a couple relocating from Cleveland. It was below asking price, with a request that we leave the dining room chandelier. I had installed the chandelier, but I did not like it enough to defend it. Rita brought the offer to us at the kitchen table. "They're well qualified," she said, "flexible on possession. They'd like to close the Monday after Thanksgiving." Elaine read every page. I read the first page 3 times. It was fair. Not spectacular, not insulting. After one counteroffer, it would pay for a smaller home without a mortgage and leave enough for us to live comfortably. Brent would say we could have gotten more. Aaron would ask whether the buyers liked the porch light. "We don't have another house," I said. "You can make your acceptance contingent on finding suitable housing," Rita said. "That weakens our position," I replied. She blinked. "You've been listening. I understand leverage. I just don't admire it." Elaine reached across the table and put her hand over mine. "We can rent if we need to," she said. "Put our furniture where? Storage. We already have storage. Then we're ahead." I looked toward the hallway. The house was quiet, but not empty. It still contained our bed, dishes, clothes, tools, books, and the blue mug with the chipped handle. It contained the marks left by furniture we had moved, the outline of pictures we had taken down, and every sound I knew before it happened. "What if we regret it?" I asked. Elaine's thumb moved once across my knuckle. "Then we regret something we chose." We accepted the offer. Brent came over that evening carrying printed sales comparisons. He stopped when he saw the signed copy on the table. "You already agreed?" "We countered," I said. "They accepted." "You didn't call me." "No." He looked at his mother. "You're really moving almost 2 hours away." "We don't know where we're moving yet." "This is insane." Aaron arrived behind him and heard the last part through the open door. "What's insane?" he asked. "The house is under contract." Aaron looked at me. I nodded. He swallowed and turned toward the porch, as if he needed to confirm the light was still there. Brent paced into the dining room. What about Thanksgiving? What about it? Elaine asked. We've had it here every year. You called the house too much work, I said. That doesn't mean we skipped the last one. Aaron came back from the doorway. We should do it here. Elaine looked at both sons, then at me. They were asking for the house again, not to store boxes or release money, but to give them one final version of something they had only noticed while it was disappearing. We'll have dinner here, she said, but we are not doing it for you. Brent frowned. What does that mean? It means, I said, if you want a last Thanksgiving in this house, you're going to make it. Brent created a Thanksgiving spreadsheet. He sent it to the family thread with color-coded assignments, preparation times, and a tab labeled contingencies. Aaron replied, I can't open this. Brent wrote, You need the app. I'm not downloading an app to eat turkey. Dana responded with a photograph of a handwritten grocery list. Elaine placed her phone face down. They'll work it out. They've already made dinner require software. They'll work it out. What are we responsible for? Showing up. That isn't a responsibility. It is this year. I tried to object, but she walked into the bedroom and closed the door before I could improve the argument. Packing accelerated once the sale survived inspection. The buyers asked us to repair one loose basement handrail and have the chimney cleaned. They did not object to the wallpaper. I took that as character. The house began disappearing into boxes. Books left the living room shelves. Elaine wrapped the greenstone earrings from Nashville and every other piece of jewelry in tissue paper. I packed my tools myself, labeling each box by type and the order in which I expected to need it. Elaine accused me of creating a mobilization plan. I told her chaos was not a virtue. Marjorie sent us listings each morning. Most were wrong. One had no garage. One had a bedroom reached by a spiral staircase, which Marjorie defended as architecturally interesting. Another was beside a fraternity house. Then she sent a yellow brick bungalow 8 blocks from downtown Athens. It had 2 bedrooms, a small den, a 1-car garage, and a covered patio behind the kitchen. The floors were scratched. The bathroom needed updating. The garage workbench was freestanding and ugly. I could improve it. That was different from needing to preserve it. We drove down on a rainy Tuesday. Marjorie met us at the house with Paul, the agent who had shown us the cemetery property. Paul remembered me. The roof is 4 years old, he said before saying hello. Documentation? In the folder. The garage? Smaller than you want. At least we're communicating. Elaine walked the house without waiting for us. I found her in the den, looking through a window toward the street. The rain had turned the pavement black. 2 people hurried past beneath one umbrella. Farther down, a restaurant sign glowed red through the weather. What do you think? She asked. The electrical panel was updated. Walter, the workbench needs replacing. Walter. I stood beside her. The room was empty except for a standing lamp the seller had forgotten to remove. We could fit 2 chairs near the window. Elaine could read there. I could complain about the lamp until we bought another one. I think we could live here, I said. Her eyes filled immediately. Don't do that. Do what? Make me cry in an empty room while your sister is measuring cabinets. My sister? Your sister-in-law. You know what I mean. From the kitchen, Marjorie called. The cabinets are standard depth. I sighed. This is what living near her will be like. Elaine laughed and wiped beneath one eye. We made a fair offer. The seller accepted the next afternoon. When we told the family, Aaron sent a string of house emojis, followed by one in flames. He claimed the fire was accidental. Brent called. Why didn't you wait until after Thanksgiving? For what? To discuss it. We discussed moving. Not that specific house. I didn't know the house existed until Tuesday. That's exactly my point. No, your point is that every decision should pause until you've reviewed it. You're buying a house almost 2 hours from us. 1:47. You timed it? Your mother did. He lowered his voice. What did you pay? Less than they asked and more than you would approve. I'm not trying to approve it. You're doing a convincing imitation. What about the extra money from this house? There will be some. And your mother would like to replace the bathroom. You know what I mean. I do. He waited. So did I. Finally, he said, We'll talk Thursday. No, we'll eat Thursday. The first smell of turkey reached the upstairs hall at 9:30. Thanksgiving morning, I opened the bedroom door. Aaron stood at the bottom of the stairs, wearing the same apron he had worn at his apartment. Smoke rose from the kitchen behind him. That's early, I said. It's a large bird. It's 6 hours early. The internet said, I don't want to know. He stared up at me. Are you feeling okay? I'm letting you work it out. That feels threatening. Elaine appeared behind me wearing a blue dress. She took my arm. We're going for a walk, she said. In the rain? Aaron asked. It stopped. What if I need help? You have Brent's contingencies. He printed them. Brent had arrived at 8 with 2 binders, 3 grocery bags, and a wireless meat thermometer. Dana came separately, carrying flowers and the expression of someone attending both a holiday and a trial. We left them in the kitchen. Most of our neighbors had gone elsewhere. Wet leaves covered the sidewalk. The maple in our yard had lost all but a few stubborn ones near the top. Elaine and I walked around the block, then continued to the diner where we had eaten during our first showing. It was open until noon. We ordered coffee and shared toast, while other people prepared our family meal. At 11, Aaron texted, Is poultry supposed to smell sweet? I turned off my phone. We returned at 2. The dining room table had been turned 90 degrees because Brent decided it improved serving flow. Folding chairs surrounded it. The wallpaper looked greener against the white moving boxes stacked near the wall. Dana had arranged flowers in a water pitcher because our vases were packed. Aaron's turkey occupied most of the counter. Its skin was dark on one side and pale on the other. Brent stood beside the stove, stirring gravy. You're late, he said. We live here, I replied. Dinner was supposed to be at 1:30. You moved it to 2 in the spreadsheet, Aaron said. The revision said 1:45. Which revision? The one I texted. You cannot revise Thanksgiving by text. Elaine kissed both sons and sat in the dining room. Dana handed me a glass of wine. Do not enter the kitchen. I was invited to live here, not today. I joined Elaine. We sat side by side while cabinets slammed. Somebody dropped a spoon, and Brent accused Aaron of slicing the turkey against the grain. Aaron replied that turkeys did not have grain. Dana began laughing and could not stop. The meal reached the table at 2:43. The turkey was dry near the surface and nearly perfect underneath. The potatoes contained small lumps. The gravy tasted mostly of pepper. Aaron had forgotten cranberry sauce, so Dana served strawberry preserves in a crystal dish. It's festive, she said. Brent looked physically pained. It's good, Elaine told them. It's late, Brent replied. Good and late can coexist. We ate. Without Elaine rushing back to the kitchen, she stayed through the entire meal. She told Dana about the bungalow's den. Aaron admitted he had signed up for the adult music night at the community center near his apartment, then immediately insisted he had not promised to perform. Brent talked about his company investment and for once did not turn it into a request. He had decided to buy in using a loan against his own house. That sounds risky, I said. It is. You've run the numbers several times. Then I hope it goes well. He watched me, waiting for criticism or an offer. I gave him neither. After pie, Elaine made coffee. Nobody tried to stop her because she wanted to make it. That distinction felt small until I noticed how rarely we had permitted it. Aaron wandered through the stripped living room with his cup. It echoes. Furniture absorbs sound, I said. I know how sound works. You thought turkey had no grain. That was metaphorical. Brent stood near the built-in cabinet. One door still hung lower than the other, exactly as it had since I built it. You could fix that before closing, he said. The buyers didn't request it. It would take 10 minutes. Then why haven't you fixed it in 27 years? He smiled despite himself. Because it's your cabinet, not after Monday. The smile disappeared. Dana and Aaron began collecting plates. Elaine carried the flowers into the kitchen. Brent remained beside the cabinet. So that's it? He asked. That's what? You move down there, use the extra money on bathrooms and restaurants. And we see you when. Whenever we arrange it. That's not how family works. How does it work? You don't just move away because Mom wants to go to concerts with Aunt Marjorie. Your mother wants a life that doesn't depend on feeding us every Sunday. We can come here. This house will belong to someone else. I mean the new place. You can visit. 1 hour and 47 minutes. Still. He looked toward the kitchen to make sure the others were occupied. And the money? He asked. I set my coffee on the mantel. The shelf was bare except for 2 screw holes where our clock had hung. You said you weren't asking. I'm not. I'm trying to understand whether you've decided anything about helping us. You bought into the company. Yes. Aaron is rebuilding after the divorce. He could use help. He could. Brent's jaw tightened. You always said you wanted to help while you were alive to see it. I was already helping. That's not what I mean. No, it's not. The room echoed our voices back more sharply than before. He folded his arms. This feels like punishment. Because we're using our own money? Because the minute we suggested selling, you turned everything into a lesson. You asked me to sell the house, Brent. We asked you to consider it. I considered it, then I did it. What you never asked was what your mother and I wanted after. We wanted you closer. You wanted us contained. Close enough to worry about. Close enough to call when something broke. Close enough for the money to remain family money. That's unfair. It's also true. His face reddened. You're acting like we used you. I let you. That stopped him. I fixed things before you asked. I stored what you wouldn't decide about. I made sure Sunday dinner appeared every week and called it love, because being useful kept me from wondering who I was when nobody needed anything. He looked away. I taught you the system, I said. You didn't invent it, but I'm allowed to stop running it. So now we get nothing? The question escaped him before he could shape it into something better. From the kitchen came the clink of plates and Aaron laughing at something Dana said. I looked at my older son. You got a father who showed up, I said. If that feels like nothing because the house money isn't included, then I failed worse than I thought. Brent flinched. For a moment I wished I could take the words back. Not because they were false, but because truth can be used like the calm voice, clean and sharp and impossible to argue with. His eyes moved to the empty mantel. I didn't mean nothing, he said. I know. You make it hard to say things. I know that too. He nodded once, then walked into the kitchen and picked up a dish towel. We cleaned together. Nobody resolved anything. Brent remained quiet. Aaron packed leftovers into mismatched containers. Dana took the strawberry preserves. Elaine stood in the center of the kitchen while everybody moved around her. When the others left, Aaron paused on the porch. Do we turn the light off? He asked. Not yet. He nodded and went to his car. Elaine and I stood in the doorway until the taillights disappeared. Then, for the last time, I left the porch light burning for my sons. The porch light was still on when the moving truck arrived Monday morning. I had slept perhaps 2 hours. Every sound woke me. The furnace starting, the refrigerator dropping ice, a branch brushing the siding. I knew each noise and still mistook it for the house objecting. At 6:30, I made coffee and drank from the blue mug with the chipped handle. All the others were packed. Elaine came downstairs wearing old jeans and one of my sweatshirts. You left the light on, she said. I know. She switched it off. The movers arrived at 7. There were 4 of them, all adults, all strong enough to carry furniture without the running commentary I considered essential. Their foreman, Luis, walked through the house with a roll of numbered stickers. That table comes apart? He asked. Yes, could save space. The bolts are under the center rail. Don't use an impact driver. The threads are soft. He nodded and put a sticker on it. I followed him upstairs. Walter, Elaine called, I'm helping. You're supervising people who did not request supervision. Luis smiled. It's okay. It is not, she said. You'll encourage him. I stood in the dining room while the table came apart. The burn mark beneath Brent's usual place appeared when they lifted the top. I had forgotten how dark it was. One mover ran a thumb over it. Hot pan, I said. My son was 19. The man nodded as if burn marks often required family context. When the table left, the room looked wrong enough that I walked away. The buyers came at 10 for a final walkthrough. Janet and Mike. We had met them once during inspection. They were both in their 50s, moving from Cleveland after Mike changed jobs. Janet admired the built-in cabinet. One door is lower, I told her. I like it, she said. It can be adjusted. I like it that way. I did not understand her, but I appreciated her honesty. Mike asked whether the porch light was staying. Yes, Aaron said from behind me. I had not heard him enter. He carried 2 cardboard trays of coffee and wore a heavy coat over his work clothes. Brent was not with him. Thought you might need these, he said. Elaine took a cup. Thank you. Aaron walked through the empty rooms while the buyers checked windows and appliances. He kept his hands in his pockets. In his old bedroom, he stood where the bed had been and looked at the rectangle in the carpet. You okay? I asked. Fine. You're not. I wonder where I learned that answer. He smiled without looking at me. We went downstairs. Janet and Mike were in the kitchen discussing where to put their table. Their voices sounded too comfortable. Aaron stopped near the back door. I should go. You can stay until we leave. No, I have work. He hugged Elaine, then turned to me. For a second, I thought he might pat my shoulder the way Brent did. Instead, he put both arms around me and held on. You have our address, I said into his coat. I know. Use it. I will. He released me and left without looking back. The closing took 43 minutes. I signed my name until it stopped looking like a name. Rita gave us a small wooden ornament shaped like a house. The buyers got keys. Elaine got teary. I concentrated on whether the conference room table was real wood. Afterward, we returned once more because I had left the garage remote on my visor. The truck was gone. Our cars were the only things in the driveway. I walked through every room. There was dust behind where the sofa had stood. A single plastic fork lay beneath the radiator in Aaron's old room. In the basement, the outlines of shelves remained on the concrete wall. The workbench was gone, leaving 4 bolt holes in the floor. I knelt and touched one. Walter, Elaine called from upstairs. Coming. At the front door, I checked the thermostat. Windows, basement lock, garage side door, and kitchen faucet. Then I placed Aaron's old brass key on the counter beside the garage remote. Elaine waited on the porch. I turned off the hall lamp and closed the door. For 37 years, that sound had meant I was home. This time, it meant I was outside. Our new bungalow smelled like cardboard, rain, and the tomato soup Marjorie had left in the refrigerator. She had also placed a vase of yellow flowers on the kitchen counter, and a note that said, "Welcome to your next chapter." I held it up. She stole that from Willow Creek. She improved it, Elaine said. She misspelled welcome, then it's original. The movers had placed our furniture according to the labels. The oak table fit in the dining area, though only 1 leaf could be added without blocking the hallway. The burn mark remained underneath. The blue mug sat wrapped in newspaper on top of a box marked First Morning. I had packed well. By the second day, I had assembled our bed, connected the washer, installed shelves in the garage, and made a list of 32 repairs. Elaine found the list taped to the refrigerator. No, she said. What do you mean, no? You cannot turn the new house into a patient. The bathroom fan rattles. It has probably rattled for years. The patio slopes toward the foundation. Water runs away from the house, not efficiently. She took the list down. I need that. You need 5 things. 5? Pick the 5 that affect safety or function. The rest can wait. The bedroom outlets are almond-colored. Safety or function. Appearance affects function. No, it affects Walter. I selected 7. She reduced it to 5. We negotiated like diplomats representing hostile nations. Without the old house to maintain, mornings expanded. I did not like them at first. At 8, there was nothing urgent. No yard wide enough to require a plan. No basement shelves to reorganize. No sons likely to arrive without warning. I drank coffee at the table while Elaine read, and I heard the clock make every individual tick. She began volunteering at the community theater with the woman she had met downtown. 3 evenings a week, she helped with costumes and ticket sales. She came home smelling like dust and old fabric, full of stories about people I did not know. I joined Community Works. Celia put me in charge of tool maintenance after I reorganized 1 drawer without permission. She said if I was going to be controlling, I might as well be useful. On repair nights, people brought lamps, chairs, fans, radios, and appliances held together with hope. I repaired a Zenith for a man named Douglas. It was not mine. That helped. Aaron visited our first Saturday. He arrived with an overnight bag, though nobody had invited him to stay. I thought I'd help unpack, he said. We're nearly done. You have boxes in the den. Those are books. Books need help. He stayed 2 nights. The following weekend, he came again with laundry. Elaine looked at the bag. What happened to your washing machine? Nothing. Then why did your clothes travel almost 2 hours? 1 hour 47. I smiled despite myself. He played his guitar in the den that night. The same 4 song beginnings, though he had added parts to 2. On Sunday afternoon, he lay on our sofa watching television while the light faded outside. I sat in the chair beside him. What time are you leaving? He looked at the clock. Soon. That isn't a time. Why? Do you have plans? No? Then what's the rush? There it was, the old system, already unpacked. I turned off the television. He sat up. I was watching that. You were sleeping. I was listening with my eyes closed. You need to go home. His face changed. Did I do something? No. Then why are you kicking me out? I'm not kicking you out. I'm telling you the visit is over. Mom said I could stay for dinner. Your mother will say yes until she disappears inside the yes. He glanced toward the kitchen. She likes having me here, he said. So do I. You have a strange way of showing it. I'm trying a new one. He stared at me, hurt making him look younger and more stubborn. I continued. You built a place of your own. The drums are there. The guitar is there. Your terrible dishwasher is there. Go live in it. What if I don't like being there? Then change it. He stood. Everything is simple when you say it. No, it just sounds simple because I wait too long. He left without dinner. Elaine came into the room after his car pulled away. That was harsh. I know. It was also necessary. I know. She sat on the sofa where he had been. He'll think we don't want him, she said. Then we tell him we do, without washing his clothes. The next afternoon, Aaron sent a photograph of his kitchen. Laundry hung from every chair. Home, he wrote. I replied, looks terrible. He sent back, thanks, Dad. Brent did not visit. He called Elaine every Sunday and asked whether the bathroom renovation had started. He sent me a link to a better electrical panel and an article about homeowners insurance. I replied when a reply was required. Dana mailed us a holiday card with a photograph of the repaired oak desk in Brent's office. The lower brace was slightly crooked. I texted him. Desk looks solid. 3 hours later, he replied. It took longer than 20 minutes. I wrote, most worthwhile things do. He did not answer, but 2 days later, a package arrived containing the brass nameplate from his first office. A note on the back said, thought this belonged in your archive. I placed it in the drawer with 12 train magazines and Aaron's old key. Winter settled over Athens. Elaine and Marjorie took a train to Chicago for 4 days. I ate poorly, attended 2 repair nights, and did not die from either abandonment or frozen meals. In spring, we renovated the bathroom. In summer, we traveled to Nashville and discovered the shop where I bought Elaine's green earrings had become a restaurant. She wore them anyway. Aaron began playing once a month at the adult music night. He still arrived at our house when his life felt unsteady, but he called first and left when the visit was over. Brent's company investment performed well enough that he stopped sending articles about risk. Our conversations remained careful. He asked about the house, community works, and traffic. I asked about business, Dana, and the desk. We stayed on safe roads. The maple leaves were turning again when a message appeared in the family thread. Thanksgiving at our house, Brent wrote. 4 o'clock, no spreadsheet. Aaron replied, who are you, and what have you done with my brother? Donna sent a photograph of a cabinet door hanging crooked beneath their kitchen sink. Brent added, Dad, do not bring tools. I looked at Elaine. She smiled. Can you manage that? I can manage anything for one afternoon. Then I went into the garage and moved my screwdriver set out of the overnight bag. The pie slid 6 inches across the back seat on the first hard turn. Elaine caught it with one hand. I told you to put it on the floor. The floor tilts. The entire car tilts, Walter. That is how roads work. I could have built a carrier. You could have held the pie. I'm driving. You had 3 days to think about the pie. I spent those days not packing tools. She looked over her shoulder at the overnight bag. Did you? No. Walter? I removed them. All of them? The screwdriver set. What else did you pack? Nothing relevant. She unzipped the bag at the next red light and found a tape measure in the side pocket. That lives there, I said. She held it up. It's not a tool in that context. What context is that? Emergency measurement. She put it in the glove compartment. You can have it when we get home. The drive to Dublin took a little over an hour and a half. We passed the exit that would have taken us toward our old neighborhood. Elaine glanced at me. I kept driving. You don't want to go by? She asked. No, you can, I know. Janet had emailed once because a package for us arrived at the old house. She said they loved the dining room and had decided to keep the wallpaper. Mike had repaired the cabinet door, then put it back uneven after Janet objected. I did not need to inspect their work. The old house existed without my attention. That still felt unnatural. It no longer felt impossible. Brent's driveway held Aaron's car and Dana's SUV. We parked behind both. No catering van, no delivery driver. No one wearing a vest stood near the door with aluminum trays. This could be dangerous, I said. Be kind. I brought antacids. You bring antacids to restaurants. Restaurants have standards. Dana opened the door before we knocked. She wore an apron dusted with flour. You're early. I checked my watch. It's 3:52. Brent has been saying that for 40 minutes. From the kitchen he called, "The turkey is ahead of schedule." Dana lowered her voice. "The turkey is the only thing he has spoken to since noon." She hugged us and took the pie. The house smelled like roasting meat, butter, and something sugary. Shoes and coats crowded the entry. Music came through the hidden speakers, quieter than usual. On the dining room table, cloth napkins had been folded into shapes resembling damaged birds. Aaron was in the living room with his guitar. "You brought it," I said. I was asked, "By whom?" "Dana." "She has heard you play?" "She has faith." "Different thing." He stood and hugged Elaine. Then he looked at my hands. "Where are the tools? You listened? I am capable of growth. Are they in the car?" "No." Elaine opened the glove compartment and handed the tape measure to Dana. "Keep this until we leave." "Traitor," I said. We went into the kitchen. Brent stood at the island reading a recipe on his phone. He wore dark pants, a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and an apron that said, "This is my happy place." His expression argued otherwise. "Happy?" I asked. Dana bought it. "Place seems tense. The potatoes are behind." I didn't know they had somewhere to be. He pointed a serving spoon at me. "You are a guest, I'm aware. No checking temperatures, no rearranging pans, no asking whether I rested the turkey." "Did you?" "Dad." "I'm asking socially." He set down the spoon and came around the island. Our hug was less abrupt than usual. Not comfortable exactly, but nobody patted anyone like a stalled engine. "Good to see you," he said. "You too." Over his shoulder, the cabinet door beneath the sink hung crooked. The top hinge had pulled loose enough to leave a dark gap. My eyes went to it before I could stop them. Brent followed my gaze. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then he pulled out a chair at the kitchen table. "Leave it," he said. "Sit down, Dad." The chair scraped against the floor. I sat. Brent returned to the potatoes. Dana placed a bowl of green beans in front of Elaine and asked her to remove the almonds because she had changed her mind about the recipe. Elaine did it without taking over. Aaron leaned his guitar against the wall, saw all of us notice, then laid it carefully on the sofa. The meal was 21 minutes late. Nobody mentioned the time. Brent's turkey was excellent. The mashed potatoes were too thin. The green beans had enough salt to raise medical concerns. Dana's rolls came from a bakery, though she claimed responsibility for warming them. "What happened to no catering?" Aaron asked. "A bakery is not catering. Depends how many bags you carry out. Did you grow the apples in your pie?" "No, but I met the man who sold them." "You use canned filling." "I met him too." Elaine laughed and passed me the gravy. The table was smaller than ours had been with both leaves in, but large enough for 6 adults. The flowers were low enough to see over. Nobody had assigned seats. I sat beside Dana instead of at one end, and Brent sat opposite me, close enough that I could see flour dried near his cuff. For a while, we talked about ordinary things. Community Works had promoted me from tool maintenance to repair night coordinator after Celia became tired of watching me do the job without the title. Elaine's theater group had sold out a comedy nobody understood until the second act. Aaron's music night had moved from monthly to twice a month because enough people kept returning. "You know whole songs now?" Brent asked. "Several. Beginning, middle, and end." "I have range." "He has 6 songs," I said. Aaron pointed his fork at me. "How do you know?" "We went last month." He looked at Elaine. "You said he was asleep." "He was until the tambourine solo." "It lasted 9 minutes," I said. "That wasn't a solo. It was an emergency." Brent's company had opened another regional office. His investment was worth more on paper than when he made it, though he emphasized on paper twice, perhaps to show he had learned uncertainty. "Any regrets?" I asked. "Ask me in 5 years. That's reasonable." He smiled slightly. "I thought you disliked reasonable. I dislike what people hide inside it." Our eyes met. The conversation moved on, but the sentence remained between us. After dinner, Dana carried 2 plates into the kitchen. Then she turned and addressed the table. I cooked, coordinated, and prevented an apron-related breakdown. "Everyone else cleans." "I cooked," Brent said. "You monitored poultry. I made the potatoes. You added milk until they became soup. They're whipped. They're drinkable." Aaron stood with his plate. I support this marriage. We cleared the table together. Elaine wrapped leftovers. Aaron loaded the dishwasher and put bowls on the upper rack, proving his own machine was not decorative after all. I dried serving dishes beside Brent. He handed them to me one at a time, without explaining where they belonged. When we finished, he nodded toward the hallway. Want to see the desk? His office was at the front of the house. The oak desk stood beneath the window. The repaired lower brace was visible from the doorway because he had stained it a shade darker than the rest. I crouched to inspect the joint. You use dowels, I said. 2. Glue? Obviously. What kind? Wood glue. That narrows it down. He folded his arms. It stands. I pressed one palm against the top. Solid. It does. The first brace split. I saw the photograph. I cut this one myself. That explains the stain. He laughed once. The brass nameplate no longer occupied the bottom drawer. In its place were recent reports and a folder from his company. The old letter jacket hung on a hook behind the door. Dana made me keep that, he said. It doesn't fit. Neither does most of what I thought I'd be by now. He leaned against the desk. From the living room came the low sound of Aaron tuning his guitar. One string, then another. Brent looked toward the doorway. I'm sorry about the house. You don't have to be. I mean the way we did it. The brochure, the numbers. You were worried. I was controlling. Those can coexist. He nodded. After Dan's father died, he said, Dan kept saying he should have known. He talked to him 2 days before. Everything sounded normal, Dana told me. Of course she did, she explained. She didn't excuse. He ran a thumb along the edge of the desk. I kept thinking if you were 12 minutes away, I'd know. If something happened, I'd get there. Mom wouldn't be alone. You wouldn't be on a patio pretending a gutter clip was attached to your hat. It was attached. I saw the picture. Aaron took it after. It was in your hair. I let that go. Brent continued. Then there was the buy-in, and the house was worth all that money, and I started treating every worry like it could solve another problem. I knew we could finance it ourselves. I just liked knowing you were there if it went wrong. The net. He looked at me. Dana said that? Yes. She talks too much. She talks exactly enough. He smiled, then became serious again. When you said we got a father who showed up, I thought about all the times I only called because I needed you to show up. There were other times. Not enough. That goes both ways. He looked surprised. I put my hand on the repaired brace. I made myself easier to need than to know. That sounds like something Mom said. It is. Thought so. I also turned the boxes into a lesson. You enjoyed the deadline for the first week. You enjoyed it longer than that. Possibly. You gave away your train magazines to make a point. I kept 12. That also sounds like you. We stood in his office beside the desk I had built, and he had finally repaired. I'm sorry, too, I said, for making every disagreement feel like you had to defeat me or go around me. You do use the voice. I have several voices. You have one voice in different temperatures. That was good enough that I had to laugh. Aaron began playing in the living room. Not just an introduction, he made it into a verse, then a chorus, his voice uncertain but steady. Brent looked toward the sound. Does he still drive past the old house? He asked. Ask him. I'm asking you. I know. He nodded, accepting the refusal. We returned to the living room. Dana and Elaine sat on the sofa with coffee. Aaron occupied a dining chair near the window. He finished the song without stopping. Nobody spoke until the last chord faded. Then Brent said, That was actually a whole song. Aaron raised one finger. Personal growth. You skipped the bridge. Artistic choice. Do another, Elaine said. While he chose one, the loose cabinet door in the kitchen shifted with a soft wooden click. I heard it. Brent heard it. He looked at me and shook his head once. Leave it. I stayed in my chair. Aaron played an old song I recognized from the year he bought the guitar. At 14, he had spent months learning the opening and never reached the second verse. Now his fingers moved without searching. Dana leaned against Brent. Elaine rested her hand on my knee. The cabinet remained crooked. The dishes were clean. The leftovers were packed by someone other than us. When the song ended, Aaron asked whether everyone wanted another. Brent said yes before I did. We stayed until almost 10. At the door, Dana returned my tape measure. Brent handed us 2 containers of turkey and one of potatoes. Next year at your place? He asked. Elaine looked at me. Our table only fits 6 without blocking the hall, I said. There are 6 of us. Marjorie will invite herself. We'll bring a folding table. You'll carry it. Fine. Aaron put on his coat. I'm staying here tonight. Brent stared at him. Why? Long drive? You live 30 minutes away. Traffic. At 10? Aaron smiled. I wanted somewhere to still be the same. Brent looked at me for help. I put on my coat. Your house, I said. Outside, the air smelled like wet leaves and chimney smoke. The porch light above Brent's door illuminated the steps while he and Aaron argued about sheets through the open doorway. Elaine took my arm as we walked to the car. You didn't fix the cabinet, she said. I was asked not to. You were asked not to fix things for 45 years. Not that clearly, she laughed. From the driveway, I looked back through the front window. Dana was carrying coffee cups to the kitchen. Aaron had picked up the guitar again. Brent stood between the living room and hall, listening to both of them while holding the folded apron. He saw me looking. Then he lifted one hand. Not a wave exactly. Just enough. I lifted mine and got into the car. Our leftovers sat on the floor where they could not slide. My tape measure was in the glove compartment. The road home curved southeast through the dark, toward the small yellow brick house we had chosen and the porch light we had left on for ourselves.